It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham, Jeff Jarvis, Aunt Pruitt, and I. Lots to talk about. Facebook calls a truce in Australia. We'll talk about the Taco Bell chicken sandwich, how a Google Pixel phone saved a man's life, Fry's calls it quits, and GameStop doubles again. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig. This Week in Google, episode 600, recorded Wednesday, February 24th, 2021.
Jalapeño.
This Week in Google is brought to you by Forward Networks. Forward Networks reduces business risk by revolutionizing the way large networks are managed. Their advanced software delivers a digital twin of the network, a completely accurate mathematical model. It's software. Get a demo at forwardnetworks.com/twit. And by Gabby Insurance. You're probably overpaying on car and home insurance, so see how much Gabby can save you. It's totally free to check, and there's no obligation. Go to gabby.com/twig. And by IT Pro TV. Get a new career in IT with the best IT education around. Visit itpro.tv/twit for an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription. Use the code TWIT30 at checkout. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover the latest from Australia. Joining us right now. How about if we did that? This Week in Australian Journalism. Joining us.
Do the accent, please.
This Week in Australia, mate. Here he is, the Leonard Tower Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. BuzzMachine.com. At Jeff Jarvis. Thank you.
Throw another zuck on the Barbie.
Throw another zuck on the Barbie. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hello.
Also with us.
600 of these. 600 of these. You think you would have learned by now.
It's episode 600.
600.
And Jeff and I are the only two who have been on all of them. Almost. We missed a few for Davos.
He's trying to get me off like a Jack Russell Terrier on his leg, and I just won't let go.
Speaking of Jack Russell Terriers on his leg, it's Aunt Pruitt from Hands On Photography. Actually, what is Clamshell, your little dog?
Biscuit is a
Biscuit Clamshell.
I believe it's a
Jack
corgi.
Russell. A corgi. Short little legs.
It's a corgi.
Yeah.
Wait, you have a corgi? I need to see it.
Yeah, that was Biscuit. The
Little Biscuit.
Jack Russell / corgi.
The little Biscuit.
Did Biscuit leave, or can we have a showing of Biscuit?
A Biscuit showing?
Biscuit? I'm really sad. All right, well.
That's Stacey Higginbotham from StaceyOnIoT.com.
Biscuit.
She's also the host of the Stacey and Kevin show, the IoT
The
show.
Internet of Things podcast.
The Internet of Things podcast. There he is. Oh. So, because he's half corgi, half terrier, he's just
he has
really
long legs.
Sweet. What a
he really
sweet
is.
little
Those
pup.
ears.
For those not seeing him, he looks just like the dog in Little Rascals. Who was a pit.
Oh,
but
yes, and he loves his aunt.
That is about a perfect, as close to a perfect dog
Or
as you
he's
can get.
sniffing what you had for lunch, one or the other.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
I smell brown liquor. All right. All right. Very sweet. Very sweet.
Thank you, Aunt, for showing me your dog. I appreciate
The
it.
showing of the
We needed that.
canines, the annual showing of the
I think
canines.
we need that every week. We want the showing of the dogs.
No, we only do it every 600 shows, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah, only 600. That's good enough.
So Paul Thurrott and Brad Sams had their 1,000th episode of the First Ring Daily show yesterday, and their wives hosted.
Wait, Andrew would never host it this week.
I think Andrew, Lisa,
neither would
Jeff's
my
wife, and Queen Pruitt. It'd be
God,
great.
No?
No?
I would join Queen Pruitt any day of the week.
You and
but-
Queen Pruitt
Yes,
would be a
absolutely.
show. That'd be a show.
And I'm like, I don't know if Andrew
she's
would go.
interesting to say the least.
So
She's a heap of fun.
She is. We had a lot of fun with her. When they first moved to town, we took them out to dinner, and then we had them over, and it was a party. A party.
Yeah,
So
we did have fun that night.
yeah, it was really fun. We got to do that again as soon as we can conviviate. Then, of course,
Yes,
COVID
indeed.
hit, and now we don't see anybody anymore. So, just to recap the long, tawdry story of Australia and the internet. So, Rupert Murdoch, who is, of course, Australian, and, kind of coincidentally is also 600. He is the publisher.
Wait a minute.
Well, he's pretty old. I don't know if he's 600.
Pretty close.
Very close.
Methuselah
of journalism.
Rupert Methuselah.
Did he start it? Was his first newspaper Australian? I know he is Australian. I think it was English.
Yes. He inherited it from his father.
Oh, okay.
From Kevin Murdoch.
And then he bought the Sun in Britain. He brought some.
Eventually, he ended up in a battle with Robert Maxwell and won that to get the Sun. But no, he built his empire first in Australia.
And of course, now the Wall Street Journal, Fox.
Right.
He is
New York Post, Times of London, the Sun.
A media baron, and apparently has quite a bit of clout and loss in Australia because he he convinced the Australian Parliament to consider a bill which was likely, by the way, to be voted on this week and pass. That would essentially establish a link tax to companies like Google and Facebook who publish news snippets. They it would not the value they sent to newspapers and magazines would not be compensated in any way. Merely the fact that they're using the content, a small amount of that content, in their search results or in their links. That the Parliament said, or is going to say, you've got to pay for that. Google was the first to capitulate, first threatening, we're going to retract search. If this passes, we're going to leave Australia. Apparently, that really didn't work, or they lost their nerve, because shortly thereafter they made a deal for paying some unnamed sum to Murdoch and other publishers, thought to be at a fairly hefty amount of money.
Tens of millions of dollars to the major ones.
Tens, not hundreds, but tens. All right.
Well, but two platforms times tens times 5 years or something, it adds up.
It adds up. But it was one of those deals where there's a face saving going on as well, because, we're going to work together, we're going to create stuff, it's going to be a joint venture, that kind of thing, instead of just, here, go away, take some money, which is what it really probably is.
Which is what it really is.
Facebook, however, actually did what Google threatened to do. They withdrew news from the Facebook news feed in Australia. That was only a couple of weeks ago. A lot of upset in Australia.
No, only like a week ago.
Wasn't that long ago?
Last week.
There was a lot of upset in Australia over that, because some government sites also lost their pages. Brianna Wu was telling us...
Because the law interpreted news broadly, so Facebook chose, whether petulantly or not, to use that interpretation of news.
In fact...
But then
the Australian health
back up.
authorities, among others, were pulled down. And apparently, when shutting down stuff in Australia, they accidentally shut down U.S. versions of that as well. It was kind of messy. Well, all of a sudden, Facebook is following Google's path. They did a deal. Jeff, I'm sure you're covering this. So, what was the deal?
So the change, I think this is all kabuki. But they want a change in the law, and so the law now has an escape hatch. If the minister of Murdoch decides that, he's actually been called that in the media. The minister of Murdoch decides that there's only two platforms. Twitter, for some reason, didn't ever get in this. It was only Facebook and Google as the major big bad platforms. If they were in good faith negotiating with lots of news companies, then they wouldn't be subject to the law. So the problem here is that when you call it a link tax, no, they weren't paying one for the links. That's 10 cents, that's 10 cents. No, they weren't doing that. But the issue was, if you link, you pay. So that's why Facebook said, then fine, we don't link. And Australia said, you're threatening us. And Facebook said, nah. So now basically there's more time to negotiate. And Facebook started doing some deals. And if they're seen to be sucking up to the publisher sufficiently, then the law, though passed, doesn't come into effect for them, including other difficult clauses. Like one is that the law would have them notify the publishers, and only publishers, of algorithmic changes in advance, like every 2 seconds. The law would require them to cover news. Facebook maintains its right, it says, to say, no, we'll do this again. If you can force us to try to negotiate, but if we don't come to a negotiation deal, then we'll leave again. And the law also called for arbitration, and Facebook just, gosh, I don't know why, didn't trust the arbitrators to be assigned to this case. Is that a clear explanation?
Has the law passed now?
No, it's about to.
It's about to. This week, they expect. So Facebook...
What's fascinating...
capitulated, essentially. Did they do roughly the same thing Google
less
did?
than Google did, but
right.
yes.
But they made a deal.
Less than Google did.
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece. I've had a long relationship with The Guardian. I love The Guardian, but I wrote a piece that I tried to present to The Guardian, and they ignored me. But I put in crikey how disappointed I was that The Guardian allied themselves with the devil Murdoch. When The Guardian went into Australia, a rich guy said, we need you here because we have Murdoch and one other company that's even worse than him. And so you're supposed to be the opposition to Murdoch. And then they ended up doing the deal with Murdoch, which I found very disappointing. But they got money too. Crikey didn't back the legislation, but still got Google money.
So there might be a consequence to making this deal for both Facebook and Google, because Canada says it wants to do the same thing. The EU says it wants to do the same thing. They may be making deals globally. This may end up costing them a lot of money. And Microsoft, who really should just shut the heck up.
Oh, shut up. Yeah.
has decided.
Eddie Haskell of tech companies.
They've decided to side with the European publishers against their arch rivals, Facebook and Google.
Mrs. Cleaver, I noticed that Wally is not willing to pay the publishers. I would be happy to, Mrs. Cleaver. This reference means nothing to my
I know, but they sucked up to the EU. So do you think strategically this was a bad move on the part of Facebook and Google?
I don't think they had any choice.
Yeah, I said last week that this is the process. You threaten, you end up negotiating, and you come to some sort of agreement that is tenable to both sides.
But here's an interesting...
That's what I was going to ask. Isn't this more of a win-win for both parties here?
No, it's a lose for everybody, except Murdoch. Murdoch's the only one who wins. Because now the platforms are going to have this happening all around the world. There is a precedent now for a link tax. Publishers sidled up next to Murdoch and got some on them. I think it's a lose. That's what I've been saying. I was on the ABC again saying it's a loss for everybody.
The Australian broadcasting company, not the American version.
Yes. Yeah. I shocked them with my American bluntness. I thought Australians were blunt, but evidently I'm blunter.
Let's just watch a little bit of it.
We'll call that New Jersey right there.
Minor amendments, and Facebook has indicated that it will be restoring news to its Australian.
Wait a minute, what is he? What is he sitting in front of? It's like a giant plow. What is that? what is that?
Down significantly.
She's a journalist and analyst, so
they're not doing that.
This is a lose for absolutely everyone except, as usual, Rupert Murdoch.
Oh,
Facebook says it.
Oh, crikey! So I'm probably going to get taken down by ABC now.
Here's the one unintended consequence, Ant, that I think could come of this, is my friend Aaron Pilhofer at Temple University tweeted this morning. He said, Facebook News Tab and Google News Showcase were just drawers in which money was there to launder it, to hand it over to the publishers, to shut them up for their lobbying. And before, all they did was link to the publishers, right? But now they're actually licensing full content. They have full news content on Google. They were forced to create a walled garden. So my friend Aaron said, it may not happen, but what if Google said, well, hell, we're paying for all this. Why don't we make a really good news site out of all this complete content, which is going to screw the publishers anymore. Yeah,
it's only going to benefit
Be careful
Google.
What you lobby for, people.
You also brought up a really interesting point in your tweet storm, Jeff, because you pointed out, and I had forgotten, that Murdoch wanted to be Facebook. He bought MySpace. He's done a number of things.
Dark mode!
He bought Delphi Internet. I like dark mode, Jeff. Just,
In full disclosure, I was the head of content at Delphi Internet under Murdoch for 1 month before I had the sense to get the hell out.
I was at Delphi.
It was then turned
Delphi.
into iGuide.
Yeah, that's right.
iGuide was a waste of unbelievable millions of dollars with MCI. MCI, an old phone company, you kids, pulled out a week or two before the launch, and it died. They did a big Fox thing, it died. He bought MySpace
for $580 million and sold it for 35.
Sold it for $35 million.
Lost his shirt.
He started the iPad newspaper, The Daily.
You remember The Daily? Yeah.
He started a search engine thing, died. He has failed at the internet at every case. So what he's doing now is he's a sniper hiding behind the newspaper press, just shooting at the internet because he couldn't tame the internet. He tried and tried and tried and tried again and failed every time. And there's a chart that I put up that's from 2010. Those were his failures up to that date. There were more since. It's
kind of amazing. So this is, you say we should investigate Rupert Murdoch, and certainly he's kind of he's kind of a baleful influence on the news industry worldwide.
You're a master of understatement.
So if this is going to happen now in Canada and Europe, can we just assume this is going to be a global phenomenon? Every government will pile on and say, "Oh, how do we get some of that juicy Facebook?"
News Corp,
how do we wet our beaks?
Yeah.
How do we wet our beaks?
Well, I mean, the question is, how low does this go, right? So Crikey said that 90% of the tech money will go to the two or three biggest companies. And by the way, that money ain't going to journalism. If it happened in Canada, the largest chain there, Post Media, which I used to be an advisor to, is owned by a hedge fund, the same hedge fund that owns the National Enquirer. Money ain't going to journalism.
Wait, Crikey is a person?
It's going to the hedge fund.
Crikey's a site, crikey.com/AU.
Every time I'm like, oh, it's like Australian. Oh, Crikey.
It is. It's both.
Okay.
It does double duty.
It's a proper noun.
Crikey.com.au says that the deal, 90% of the cash goes to News Corp, 7 West Media, and 9, 3 companies owned by 2 folks, Rupert Murdoch and Kerry Stokes. Is that right?
Yes. And so what's going to happen world around? And yes, The Guardian supposedly got $10 million, and The Guardian is the one place that will put it into journalism.
Good for The Guardian.
But the world around, if this happens in Canada again, it goes to a hedge fund. It goes to the owner of the National Enquirer. Is that really what you want,
Canada?
Wow. But the one thing I've been saying in all my many media appearances, if you want to tax the platforms more and get more money out of them, okay. That's your pass a tax law and do that. But then who is to say that money should go to entitled, old, screwing up, never figured out the internet news publishers? Well, I'd have it go to internet access or education or health or lots of things.
Crikey points out that half of the money will go to foreign-owned media. It won't even go to an Australian owner. So,
which is a big point that Murdoch had to, when he wanted to buy TV stations, he had to become an American citizen and relinquish his Australian citizenship. There was amazing testimony from Kevin Rudd, former PM of Australia, who, together with Malcolm Turnbull, former PM of Australia, is trying to get the Australian government to start a royal commission on media, read Murdoch monopoly. And it was amazing because he sat there. This is a former prime minister. He sat there in front of these senators, the politicians, and he said, "Let's be honest. We're all scared of Murdoch. I was scared of Murdoch. You're scared of Murdoch." Nobody disagreed with him for a second. We're all scared of Murdoch. That's how this happened. And that's what's happening in the UK. Tom Watson, who tried to fight Murdoch there, is now out of government. In the US, I'm trying to get journalists together to do something about Murdoch, but we're nowhere there. Though today there was a hearing in Congress trying to put pressure on cable systems to get rid of OANN and Fox and so on. Though as much as I love that pressure, I don't want the government to put the pressure on. Murdoch is a big problem world around, and that's the part of this story that gets lost. I'll stop now so Stacey can wake up and join us again.
I'm here. I pay attention
I was boring you terribly.
Nuggets such as, wait, what? Crikey's a person?
Well, in other news, GameStop stock went up 100% today.
Yeah, what's happening there?
What the hell?
I got a breaking news alert. I was like,
what?
Why?
The stock trading was halted twice for volatility ahead of the closing bell, up 104% before the close. A little profit taking after that. No one knows why.
Way down from its high.
Yeah, but still,
isn't that to hurt the hedge fund people, or
who knows what it's? Who knows what's going on?
Who knows
it
now?
Stonks.
It's all a house of mirrors, Ant. It's the weekend.
Ironically, and I think unrelatedly, Reddit went down entirely about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, I heard that. Also heard something happening with the Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve was down this morning as well, which means no ACHs, no wires. That's
Wire
back
transfers.
up. They say it was an error in one of their somebody screwed up. Reddit is back up as well, so I don't think it's related to
click save
to stonks. What a weird world
Reddit
we live
stock's
in.
doing well too.
What a weird world we live in. All right, well, I think we can stop with the Facebook and.
Thank you for dealing with that. That was good.
Anything? Well, there is one other Facebook story. As you know, the Oversight Board at Facebook is reviewing the deplatforming of former President Trump. Apparently, they're deciding now on it. I thought they'd already decided to decide on it, but
No, they have, I think, 90 days.
Former President Trump has appealed directly to the Oversight Board to rejoin the platform.
Which they said, he had a perfect right to do. He could submit.
Yeah, that's who does it, right? The person who's deplatformed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you imagine?
All the Facebook news you ever wanted.
I can't. Oh, y'all, I can't get into my Facebook account. I wanted my drop.
Yeah, really lucky
well, I
you.
know. I haven't been there in 2 years.
Smartasses.
Oh, you didn't kill it? You just suspended it, or
no? I just
ignored it.
Didn't go. But my theater teacher from when I was in high school, she passed away, and so I was,
yeah, you want to go there and memorialize her, sure.
But apparently, because I logged on last from a computer that I no longer own, Facebook was like, well, we don't know if it's you, so we're going to have you authenticate. But the only way it'll let me authenticate is by
I know what it
reaching
is.
out to
You have to hold
random
up
people.
a Murdoch newspaper with the current date on it.
There we go. And my birth certificate.
Yes.
No, I have to. Facebook wants me to call some of the friends it selects for me.
Oh, yeah,
and ask
yeah.
them for a code.
Yeah.
But the people.
Yes.
One of them's my husband, but the other two are like not people I actually
Enemies.
know and have phone numbers.
Enemies.
No, I'm like, oh, you're acquaintances. I don't even have a phone number.
Isn't
for
that
you.
ridiculous?
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's that Facebook recovery process.
So
now
I'm no
you might
longer
want to
gonna
look
be on
this
Facebook.
gift horse in the mouth and say, all the teeth are there. I'm buying it.
No.
Well, I can't. I mean, now I can't get in to deactivate it.
Oh, you can't. You have to log in
No.
to deactivate it.
So I'm just going to be in this Facebook
You're
limbo
limbo.
till the day
You're in
I
Facebook
die.
limbo with all the babies.
Oh, I thought they were in purgatory.
No, they're in limbo.
Okay.
You got to get your catechism straight.
I was not Catholic, so
Yeah, they go to limbo because they're babies. They haven't had a chance. There's original sin, but they didn't do anything. So I don't know how they get out of limbo.
yeah, I'm like, I feel like babies should go to heaven, but
Nobody
that's
should be
just
in
me. And we're not going to argue theology.
I kind of
after
agree with
Facebook.
you. I kind of agree with you. That's why I remember all those fun facts. From catechism class. Sheryl Sandberg and top Facebook executives silenced an enemy of Turkey. This is quite a accusation. This is from ProPublica. During the 2018 Turkish military campaign, the Turkish government demanded that a page of a mostly Kurdish militia be blocked on Facebook. Sheryl Sandberg wrote in an email, "I am fine with this." That was her one-sentence message to the team that reviewed the page. They're still down 3 years later. So this is the problem, is that it's very hard to do what Facebook does and not weigh in on these, right?
True.
Yeah. And following nations' laws gets you in trouble with
Right.
nations that have better laws.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is again why I think that in a way, I would bet, I have not heard this from anyone, but I would just bet that there were people inside Facebook who said, let's just leave it alone. Just no news. Fine. Puppies, parties, getting laid. That's what we are.
It's not too bad.
Let's go back to our roots.
It's a good life.
That is society.
Speaking to somebody who's lived that life, that's a good life. All right, let's take a little break. That was our entire bundle of Facebook news, our Facebook news bindle.
Coming up, we're going to have Taco Bell news.
Dust your
how's
hands
that
off
for?
Taco Bell is back in the news.
Taco Bell news. This is a major tease. Yes.
No, I want to know, but I can't because it's time to tell you about Forward Networks. Oh, I'm suffering here. No, actually, I love Forward. It's not that. I want the Taco Bell story. Oh well. Stay tuned. It's coming up. Your network. You know, it's kind of coinky-dink. Federal Reserve Board down, Reddit down. Your network is kind of mission critical, right? In some cases, the network being down, if you're, the Federal Reserve Board, that's a big deal. Maybe we should send them a little note about the Forward Networks. This is really cool. I talked to the guys who created this. They were Stanford PhD students, 4 of them. And worked on, they actually kind of felt the pain network operators felt by the mystery. If you've ever run a network, a big network, there's a lot of mystery. There's that big puffy cloud that we talk about, that hides a lot of details. It's a mystery what's going on sometimes in the network. So they decided, look, we can use software. This is so cool, to create a software-generated digital twin of the network, a literally completely accurate mathematical model of your network. We can send, kind of like Google does, send spiders out to find every corner of the network, find every device on the network, and map it out, and then present this on the screen as a single source of truth. So you know exactly what your network's doing. What could you do this? You can determine if your network is in compliance with your policies, if it's configured properly, if it's behaving as you thought it would. And even maybe more importantly, you can figure out what's going to happen to the network if we make some changes. Forward Networks calls this behavior diffs. It's like a text diff, except it allows a side-by-side comparison of your network as it is right now and what it will be like with those configuration file changes you're contemplating. You can actually, in one view, you can see all the changes for any device between any points of time and know exactly what's going to happen. So that's the problem, is somewhere like the Federal Reserve Board, a guy comes in, changes a configuration file or a routing table, suddenly the whole thing goes down. If they'd had Forward Networks, they'd be able to accurately predict the impact of those changes across every possible traffic path. And once they verify it's going to do exactly what they want on the Forward Network simulation, on the model, they could say, okay, now we can do it, and they can do it with confidence. Keeping your network healthy, keeping your network agile. This is so cool. You get a beautiful dashboard. If you're watching the video, you saw it, but I'll tell you, if you go to the website, you can see it for yourself, forwardnetworks.com/twit. You'll see visualizations that you can immediately understand what's going on. You can export them. You can send them to the boss, to the board. You can automatically create an always accurate network diagram, full details about the topology of your network, what's on every node. It's search network behavior, configuration, and state network-wide. It's got a really nice search tool. You can do end-to-end path analyses across your network, both on-prem and in the cloud. I mean, everywhere your network is. So you can verify that it's behaving as you expect, on-prem, cloud, virtual overlay networks. You can set, check, and customize policies for the whole network. This will give you, on average, 50% faster resolution of network trouble tickets, 90% faster fixes related to audit processes, 33% reduction in aborted network updates due to identified errors. Wouldn't it be cool? You could do a search to see what's causing the problem. Forward Networks, it's actually a great story. Goldman Sachs, they led the Series C funding round last October, along with Mark Andreessen over at Andreessen Horowitz, who thinks Forward Networks is amazing. Threshold, $65 million funding round. Forward Networks worked with PayPal. PayPal was doing that thing, the dance that all of us do, design versus build. They were going to build their own. Instead, they found Forward Networks. They said, oh, this is it. This is it. They worked with Bank of America, with Verizon. If you're down under, they worked with Telstra. This is something every big network needs. Network automation and verification for an intent-based network with forward networks. Your business depends on it. Federal Reserve Board. Get a demo at forwardnetworks.com/twit. Forwardnetworks.com/twit. They also have a podcast if you want to listen to it. I love the name. Seeking Truth in Networking. It's wherever you get your podcast, you get a copy. Check it out. Forwardnetworks.com/twit. I almost feel like, especially at times like this is a public service announcement. Everybody needs to know about this. No more configuring your BGP routing table so that all the internet traffic goes to Maine. No more of that. Forwardnetworks.com/twit. It's time has come. All right, you teased us with Taco Bell. What is the story here? Which line? Which line? Oh, here it is. I found it.
Oh, which line?
It's on eater.com.
Everybody has to have an entry into the chicken wars, and Taco Bell's held back to decide just the right thing, and I think they might have done it. They have their entry into the chicken wars.
What's this goo dripping out of the end? What is?
Oh, it's a special sauce. You got to have a special sauce.
It's mayonnaise. It's always mayonnaise. It's gross.
Well, but it's just colored
This is silly.
There's food coloring. And but I think a pickled jalapeno is a notch above the Popeye's pickle. I think this is a major advance in the form.
Crispy chicken, chipotle sauce, cradled in a folded flatbread.
Not approve.
I can't believe you called it a jalapeno.
It's jalapeno.
What kind of nonsense is that?
Yo, jalapeno. You know what? I finally went to Popeyes. I made my wife drive me to Popeyes.
Oh, Popeyes. Those biscuits.
Did you have the sandwich?
I had the sandwich. It was good.
What'd you think?
It was very good.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so there. One thing is, and this is, I guess, a pro. They're using real chicken. The problem with real chicken is it doesn't have a consistent size, shape, texture. So
you got a thick part and a thin part.
Exactly. There was a big lump of chicken in the middle, and then there was like crispy around the edge. It was good.
That is one issue.
So you've experienced this bolus, the chicken bolus issue.
Yes, the chicken bolus. Yes.
Okay.
Let's call that just a feature of chicken, y'all. I mean, do you really want the
and that's the advantage.
You could pound it.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you.
I mean, yes, they could pound it part, but even when you create a cutlet,
they could butterfly.
But then it's too thin for a good fried chicken.
It was
sandwich.
good, and then the fried chicken. We got some fried chicken too. The fried chicken was very good.
The fried chicken is
biscuit
where it's at.
and some.
Yeah. I haven't had the biscuits.
I
got the slaw. The slaw had a little too much special sauce in it, so I could have done without that. I want to try the biscuit.
Should have gone with the beans and rice.
I should have gone with the red beans and rice. Is it good there? I thought they can't possibly have good red beans and rice at a fast food establishment, but really it was worth it.
Yesterday I celebrated my second shot by getting the sandwich. Yes, I was very happy.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Really? You got the vaccine and a chicken bolus.
And a chicken.
Good deal.
Yes.
Good deal. Or go to Taco Bell. You like Taco Bell, right? That's my memory.
Well, I got a confession to make. When I got my first shot, I went back to a Taco Bell to get I used to just get my two.
Get a vaccination, have some junk food. Is that your life story right there?
Yeah. Save yourself, kill yourself.
Yeah.
So I had my standard order at Taco Bell. Is a very humble order of 2 bean burritos. I'm quite happy with them. I got to admit, they were
not
awful.
as good.
No,
Wow.
I've been making
they
the
were
whole
bad?
time. Yeah, thanks to Karsten, the whole time I've been making every day. I make my black bean cheese
spoiled
quesadilla.
You've got homemade now to compare it against.
Yeah, I admit it.
Wait,
I'm an honest man.
He set you straight. The look on her face,
you got a problem with that?
So do
My
all
wife
tacos
has the same thing every day for lunch. She has an egg and guacamole on toast, and I have a quesadilla.
Do you have vegetables at all?
There's jalapenos.
Not for lunch. Why you want to do vegetables for lunch? What's wrong?
I have so many questions.
Right. What am I going to do? Make some Brussels sprouts for lunch?
That's what Lisa does, believe it or not. And I come home and the place just smells like chicken's been farting all over the place because the funny thing about Brussels sprouts, they taste fantastic, but the
no, they don't.
Effluvium.
It's like roasted broccoli. Yeah, you're just like, oh, what?
They're 3 Mile Island cabbages.
I mean, we'll make a sweet potato. Sometimes we'll have like a little like chickpea and spinach coconut milk thing that we put on the sweet potato. But I'm more there's the vegetable component, but there's also the same food every day. That's
by the time the pandemic ends, I'm going to be
years.
Yeah.
Steve Gibson used to have a ham sandwich every day for lunch.
Sandwiches.
Peanut butter and honey. There you go.
I redid
Like
peanut butter, honey, and banana, and I was like, "Oh, let's try this." It's been years, and then I was like,
"Not good." Peanuts are not.
All right.
Peanuts kind of are a vegetable. They're legumes.
They are.
Yep.
They're not a nut.
He's not having a peanut butter quesadilla. Anyway, let's talk about Google.
Well, wait a minute. No, I have to finish the story because I don't want to set everybody up. As Scooter X is reminding me, the special Taco Bell chicken sandwich taco will be tested at select locations in Nashville, Tennessee, and Aunt, you're going to be sad when you hear this, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Have at it.
Starting March 11th, a nationwide rollout is planned for later this year. You're going to let Charlotte have it, huh? Okay. This is not.
I want to take a victory lap that Leo tried the sandwich and liked it.
I loved
very
it.
Happy about that.
I actually really loved it. It was really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
You know what though? I got to say, and Stacy's probably going to agree with me on this. There's something Popeyes does to that batter, because it's very crisp and sweet, and it's my guess they put sugar in it.
Oh, probably.
Oh,
that's not unusual.
I hadn't thought about that.
Sugar, if you don't put sugar in a cake or a cookie, you don't get the crispness. You can use honey in a cookie, for instance, but the thing about the sugar, when it bakes, it crisps, and honey won't do that. And I'm thinking that probably Popeyes is putting some nice white sugar in that batter.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You know, I made those hush puppies the other. Man, we're talking about
a little bit of sugar.
Food. I'm sorry.
A little bit of sugar, right?
Buttermilk.
Put a little sugar in there. Yeah.
And when you fry it up, it does just gives it a little bit of flaky crispiness right on the edge. And it's perfect.
Kitchen science.
Sorry, chat room.
I want Popeyes.
This week in Google, Google did some other crazy stuff, right?
As long as we're talking about cooking.
Nice try, Aunt. Nice try.
I just want to tell everybody about Harold McGee. Do you know about Harold McGee, Stacy?
I do. I used to have his cookbook, and now I have all his cookbooks of people who were influenced by him.
Yeah.
Like Rollman.
Yeah.
So, yes.
He is the guy who really told the world that cooking was chemistry.
Oh, my God. Is he dead?
No.
Oh, good.
I don't think so. Okay. God, now you scared me. Nope, he's not. He's a young man. He's 69. I just thought, since we were talking about the sugar and the Popeyes, that's kind of a Harold McGee trick.
Science.
He has a new book out, actually, y'all. It's about smelling.
See? Smelling is 99% of eating.
A Nosedive, a field guide to the world's smells.
I
this
gotta
is a
order
new
that.
book.
Yeah, I got to order that.
Get on it, y'all.
Nosedive. What a good name. When they talk about COVID-19, they talk about all the horrible things. You can't breathe. You feel like you're drowning, and all that. But both my wife and I agree that the real side effect that neither of us want is that you lose your sense of taste and smell.
Losing taste. Yeah.
Terrible. Terrible nightmare.
My uncle caught it a month or so ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is he okay?
He's fine. Yeah, he's fine. But that's pretty much what he said. He was miserable because he couldn't taste food.
That would just kill me. And that can last a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Did the taste come back, Aunt?
It did.
Oh,
he felt fine after, being, air quote, sick. But for a little while, he still didn't have taste, and it was just driving him nuts. You telling the Southerner they can't taste their fried food, that's a problem.
And this just in from the editorial department. There is no chicken in Popeye's chicken. I mean, did I say chicken? There's no sugar. There is
no sugar.
Chicken,
but y'all,
there's no sugar.
There are 690 calories, 42 grams of fat, and 1,400 megs of sodium.
Killjoy.
Good for you.
Chick-fil-A sandwich, 440 calories,
and by the way,
19 grams of fat.
I might point out there are sugars in the chicken sandwich classic and spicy. It's probably in the bun though. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
buns.
It's in the bun, not in the...
Possibly.
Because if you just get a piece of chicken, there's no sugar in that. So thank you, editorial department, making. And one more thing, there, Nosedive, the book by Harold McGee. There's also a gastropub in Greenville, South Carolina, called Nosedive. And
wow,
yeah,
look at the upstate getting all the love today on This Week in Googie.
Look at that, huh? It's Kakalaki time on This Week in Googie.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Google.
Let's talk about ethics and AI.
Oh, God. I've been avoiding this story. You know what? That's why. Because another AI ethics researcher fired. We had, remember Timrit Gebru, who was fired, and then Margaret Mitchell. We had the story a few weeks ago that she was in trouble because she apparently was exfiltrating email from her account. Google was investigating. She was fired on Friday afternoon. Tweeted merely 2 words, "I'm fired." Google confirmed her employment had been terminated. After conducting a review of this manager's conduct, we determined there were multiple violations of our code of conduct. Now, as I always disclaim before we do these kinds of stories, employment law, it's tough because employers are very limited in what they can say about a termination. We will never get both sides of a story on any termination, so we just should say that up front. But it does not look good for Google. Once again, having trouble with the people they brought in specifically to run their ethical AI team have now both been fired.
Yeah, this is not cool looking.
Yeah.
As they say, the optics are bad.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that optics are bad, yet they continue to proceed with this. So it makes you wonder what exactly did happen on both sides of it.
I mean, the research, I will say, the research they put out that kind of made Google's BERT search algorithm look biased, I can see, and maybe not as effective. I can see Google being like, yeah, please do not publish the paper that makes us look bad. But I can also see the argument in favor of that, especially in like the current climate of being aware of bias in AI. And I will say the way that Google handled this is incredibly clumsy. I feel like they could take a page from like lobbyists for the telco industry for really like coming in and co-opting somebody else and making it, feel bad without looking quite so bad to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
Google's young. They're learning.
And at the same time, they come out with a new policy on diversity, and these actions have an impact on that statement.
They're changing their diversity and research policies. The head of the company's head of AI apologized for the handling of the Margaret Mitchell and Timrit Gebru situation. It's complicated. It's all.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just so hard to know what's happened.
Yeah,
it's hard to know what's happening on the inside. But I will say, firing an African American woman and then another woman because they disagreed with your male management team.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been there. I have not been fired, but I have disagreed, and I have left companies because I've disagreed. And yes, I didn't. I mean, the reason why I would have gotten fired is because I didn't toe the party line. And so then the question needs to be like, hey, Google, are you self-aware enough to change your party line?
Yeah, if you hire strong women to oversee your AI efforts and you don't like what they say, maybe there's other solutions than firing them. It seems like that's why you brought them in.
A watchdog.
Yes.
Right.
They're there to be a watchdog, and then if you don't let them watch the dog, then
now they're a canary.
I don't know where this goes.
Yeah. and they have just fallen over on their perch. There is, though, we do have some testimony from a guy who was at Google and left. The founder of Waze wrote a piece at Pago, which I gather is yet another medium/subscription thing. Noam Bardeen said, "Why did I leave Google?" or "Why did I stay so long?" He talks about Waze being acquired by Google 7 years ago, how he was promised autonomy, as you know, Google and other companies always do.
They seem to have given him. They left.
Okay,
They left Waze
this guy's
as its own
post. I was like, buddy, what kind of fairyland were you living in that you thought this company would buy you and leave you completely autonomous? I mean,
I don't know that happens anywhere.
It doesn't, because it's not tenable for the acquiring business.
Oh.
Right.
And they left it more independent than anything else. Any normal company would have just merged it into Google Maps, and that's that. The fact that they left it as a separate entity to do development.
Honestly, was kind of stupid.
In Israel. Yeah.
And then the other thing I would say is in here, he talks about running from his existing board because they had conflicts. So it was like instead, they were running away from their current board to Google, thinking that was going to solve some of their problem. But you cannot grow your startup as a startup in the midst of a big company.
His biggest complaint was, and this is common in a big company, he couldn't hire and fire as he chose.
Right. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hated that.
And you know why? Because bigger companies have larger legal liabilities. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily do a better job, as we can see, but that's what they're there for. And
okay, well,
I know with all of this.
Basically, this guy just read as entitled and super naive, and I'm just like, what? You're a successful entrepreneur in this? I don't know. Sometimes I'm bitter.
They had great technology. They managed to develop it a lot more. I mean, I still use Waze instead of Google.
Yeah, they still have a huge fan base.
Waze did not lose its personality. It's still very much like it was, right?
Oh, and this guy also complained about, he had used a 4-letter word while speaking on a panel. His analogy wasn't PC. His language wasn't PG. So he stopped speaking, and people he got his wrist slapped. Offended by him, and yeah.
Did he use the word cancel in here anywhere?
No, but he did say tolerance is gone at Google, and words are bigger than or greater than content. That's the new Silicon Valley mantra of political correctness. So,
you can say terrible things as long as your pronouns are correct, or you can say super important things, but use one wrong word, it's off to HR with you. It does seem a little naive. He also published a brand report which showed that Waze brand all by itself was better than Band-Aid, HP, Southwest, and Hershey's. Although I have some question about this top 50 brands because, okay, Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix, Pinterest?
Oh, people love Pinterest.
Beating
Pinterest
Android, Spotify, Pixar, Disney's number 9? Okay.
Where do you think Disney should be?
Well, Disney's Pinterest a pretty respected brand, don't you think?
Well,
that's why it's number 9.
I don't know where this came from.
RankingTheBrands.com? What the heck is that?
Yeah, okay. You're right. Good point. Some guy's idea of what a brand is.
Jeez.
Okay. I guess that was my point.
I'll have my brand ranking for you next week.
Yeah,
Taco Bell's high up there. I'm warning you.
I guess that was kind of my point. Is I don't understand this list at all. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, yeah. Somebody likes...
A question for you all.
Yes.
With all of this stuff going on from firing the AI ethics people, Google's been doing, well, actually a lot of the tech companies, they've been doing all of this woke stuff and making all of these different contributions to help unfortunate people, especially on the sides of being people of color and yada, yada, yada. We've seen all of these campaigns. We're giving back. We're trying to, invest more into allowing kids of color to get into the STEM field and yada, 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 yada. They're saying all the right things. And I think I said a couple weeks ago that I want to see more action, and then stuff like this happens. Does all of that lip service just get diminished based on these recent firings?
Well, that's really a question more for you, Ant, because all of this is aimed at you. It's like, oh, really? Well, trust us. We like black people. We're all in, on black people. And then, but you do have to judge somebody by their actions. The words are easy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I think part of it is also women.
Women too. Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
Women too.
Yep.
I think when I talk back or argue with a man, a certain kind of man, not any man.
Just shut up, Stacey. I don't want to hear it.
Here it goes.
I would be interested in the response if Ant and I got together and argued with the same individual.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, I think, and Lord help black women, because
that's
double probably
whammy.
even worse.
Yeah.
And black women in tech probably makes it worse yet.
Yep.
And so I think in some of it, I will say, if I'm Google and I'm actively trying to recruit black women, people of color, women in general, these are not good stories to tell and to see. And people are very, I mean, it's clear they're not walking the talk. Is that the right place?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes,
yeah,
they're not walking the talk. And they did appoint, the woman they appointed to replace Margaret Mitchell or Meg Mitchell was a black woman, Marion, I want to say Collard, something. Anyway, but I look at this and I'm like, I would never want to work there. I mean, you would have to defend yourself not only to everybody within Google, but to everyone who's probably your support network,
why would you go to work for
women.
them? They're awful.
Yeah, they don't have a nice track record at all. Don't.
And it's unfortunate because
Stacey,
Google is so important in terms of how people, it's a frame through which a lot of people see the world. So it's important to get more people who resemble the rest of the world in there, you know?
This is actually what Margaret Mitchell said in her tweet that I think she believes and others believe was the proximate cause of her firing, not the emails that she was going through. Say you have a problem, she tweeted, with consistently alienating black women and have caused serious damage in their lives. You could, A, try to undo that damage, or B, try to form more black people to like you, the tokenism approach. Good luck.
Yep.
So she's saying that exactly.
And that's one of the things that it was right after Sundar said he was going to go to the historically black universities and try to recruit. But, I mean, having someone, this is tough. And this guy who wrote this entire aggrieved blog post, basically a good portion of his message was like, I left after 7 years because I told it like it was. I was too real for Google.
Too real.
That man lasted 7 years.
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here to
And
report
then
things at Google are pretty good for white men. I just want to say, we're doing all right there. Just want you to know.
And he felt like so justified in writing this
good point. And he left. He wasn't fired. He wasn't fired.
He left.
He left.
No.
And people were like,
tons of money.
So surprised. And he was like, I just was tired because I'm kind of a confrontational person and I was tired of not being me. And
admit it,
this attitude.
We're both reading between the lines quite a bit.
This attitude just drives me nuts. No, he wrote that in there. He wrote those little words.
I know.
And don't get me wrong, this isn't just me attacking Google. I say this about pretty much all of these large corporations out there because there's a bunch of corporations doing the same behavior that we don't hear about. Smaller companies, under the Fortune 500 or whatever. So this is just, you gotta, if you're gonna freaking talk about what you're doing, you need to walk the walk too, as our chat room said there.
Yep.
Yes, walk the walk, talk the talk.
I think is Stacey, to your point, it's one matter to be a person of color, a woman of color, a woman inside the behemoth that Ann talks about. But the key here is about the lesson that God knows I'm a white man and I've got to learn lessons every single day. But the thing that I've learned most in the last 2 years is the need to truly share power. And it's a lesson I have to learn how to think about that every single day. And in this case, Google didn't share power, right? They said, you're in charge of keeping us honest in AI. Not that honest. And And that's the problem. Then don't have the job. Then don't have started the job in the first place. And
Right.
don't put a black woman in that job if you're not going to mean it. That, to me,
Right.
is the key issue.
Yeah, if you're going to put a token up there and say, and then tell the token that it's actually a meaningful player when it's really just a pawn, then yeah. And of course they're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And I've been on the other side of this coin as well that I think should be addressed. And it's basically what we said at the beginning is we got to know both sides of the story. I've been in a situation where I was terminating somebody that was working on my team and black person, and they wanted to throw the race card at me, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, person, I'm black too. And these rules that are in place, these protocols that are in place, they were set by me. So that's why you got, not because you're black, it's because you didn't follow my protocols. And I live by my protocols. So it's still, we got to understand that there's still going to be two sides of the story, and don't always assume that it's just the company being idiotic and racist, because sometimes there are just some flat out rules being broken and procedures not being followed.
Yes, I will say, not in your case, Ant, but in many cases, the rules are there to protect the established class. So sometimes you're like, But I will also say the reason Google said they fired both of them, the excuse in both cases was involved not following the rules in transferring large files was one in both of their cases. And that's one of those rules where you're kind of like, that could be really nefarious, like Anthony Lewandowski nefarious. But it can also just be like, yeah, I wanted to, take some work home or something.
I'm trying to work from home
every day. Right.
It's just trying to work from home.
I look at their excuses in this case, and I'm like, okay. And Google is totally fine protecting people too when they fire someone that has done something.
Well, Andy Rubin.
Egregious.
Did somebody say $90 million? Was that what you just said?
Yeah.
90 million? Right.
So,
Okay,
I mean, if we look at all the people who were fired because they probably got a little too happy with their assistants or, actively harassed people, but just were left, oh, we're going to let you go, and maybe they get a $90 million severance. Maybe they don't, but Google doesn't throw them out in front of throw them under the bus with some stupid, we're firing you because of X, Y, Z. So,
right.
But you're right. But we're never going to hear both sides. So in this case, all we have are the optics.
Can
Google
I ask
needs to take that.
a completely unrelated but meta question of you journalists? Because I'm curious. You never have the whole story, right?
Right.
How do you handle that?
You write. I mean, I have always written, when I write about things, I write about it for the consumer, right? And this doesn't, in this case, it's a little less apparent, but you write about it you understand who has the power, and I err on the side of the people who don't have the power.
That's a good attitude, I think. Yeah, I do too. And in fact, that's
behind
important in the field that I'm in of tech journalism, because it's very easy to be.
Punditry?
Oh, pardon me, punditry. Sorry, I lost my head for a moment. That it's very easy when you're doing that to favor the big companies, to favor the tech companies. They're going to spiff you with free stuff, and you want to go to sources. Same thing, I suppose, in Beltway journalism. When your sources are all members of Congress, you kind of don't want to burn your sources.
Access, yeah.
But access is so important. But at the same time, really, who are you representing? You're representing those not in power. You're speaking truth to power.
But it's also, but we also get full of ourselves, and think that we set the agenda. We shouldn't. The public should. That we know how things happen, and so it turns the other way. Pardon me. Can I just get a license to say this just once in the show, and then I won't say it again? It's the problem I have with the switch from utopian to dystopian moral panic and coverage of tech. Neither is true. And so the credibility of the coverage so often now, I think, there we go.
We had a little flash of moral panic there, a little subliminal moral panic.
I asked for permission. Well, actually, no, I asked for forgiveness. Where I think that one of the words we love in journalism, and my friend Jay Rosen says we always use it wrong, is narrative. We think we control the narrative, that we have the story, we know what's going on, we know how to put it in the context. And oftentimes we don't. I'm sure we've all had the experience, too, of being interviewed by journalists, and it's awful. Because they take the one thing they need to fill in their story, and, you understand why people don't trust interacting with us. We've got to change the form of what we do. And that's why I have students to do that, because I'm too old.
By the way, in a related to the Australia update, apparently, according to Reuters, Alphabet is in talks with Spanish publishers to bring Google News back.
I don't understand this story, because that was a law that gave no option and no choice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's happening. They're going to change the law.
Spanish Cultural Ministry says the government is working on a draft bill, so they're looking at changing.
Okay, then that's
this is the famous case.
It hurt the publishers.
Yeah, there's a famous case of publishers demanded payments for snippets. Google said, "Screw you," closed Google News in Spain, and it hurt the publishers badly. That was back in 2014. So I guess now Spain is going to do something about that, and Google might come back. Good talk, everybody. Thank you very much. Pundit. That's what I am, a pundit. Actually, Stacy, to be fair, in my bio,
do service journalism.
No. In my bio, I'll show you my bio that I use it on Twitter. I use it most places. This is my bio. This is what I say. Let me see if I can get it here. I am a podcaster, broadcaster, and tech pundit. I claim no more than that.
That's what I thought you said you were, a pundit.
Yeah, you say that now. After you slap me around. I thought you said that. No, I'm teasing. Absolutely. I do not consider myself a journalist. That's why I said I want to ask the journalists on the panel, what do you do if you have insufficient, you have insufficient information, but that's just the nature of the world. You never have perfect information.
Well, yeah, and you could always call more people.
Yeah.
I mean, but at a certain point, you do have to file.
Yeah. Always be filing.
Are we going to talk about the shortage of chips and the looming executive order?
Stacy bait.
Is that on our list?
I think it is, and I think it's exactly what we should talk about when we return after this word from our sponsors. No, that's in fact, I was very surprised to see that coming out of the White House. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your take on it in a second, but first, a word from Gabby. This is the story. I'm watching TV. Lisa has got her hair on fire, says, they just raised our home insurance $8,000. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess because we're in the wildfire area and stuff like that. She said, oh, my God. I said, you know what I really should do? I should shop around because I bet you we can find a better price. And you got to log into each individual company's site. You got to answer a whole ton of questions. And it's very repetitive. It's the same questions, but you got to answer them over and over and over again. And I thought, gee, there ought to be a better way. And then on the TV, this guy comes on. I said, I got to try this. Downloaded Gabby. Long story short, we saved $2,000 on our home insurance. So put the app on my phone. It's really quick, very fast. They say on average, if you were shopping around, it's about 1,100 keystrokes per insurance company that you'd have to fill out forms and so forth. They go to the 40 top insurance providers, Progressive, Nationwide, and Travels. And really what Gabby did, what Hano did, which is really interesting, he convinced them to have an API that they could scrape. He said, you've got to make this easier for people to shop around. This going to each site is crazy. So Gabby actually has kind of influenced the industry to make this possible. Now what'll happen is you go to Gabby. They do homeowners and they also do auto, and I did both. And I want to warn people about this because I got a couple of emails from people saying, did you know they do this? Yes, I do. And this is how they save you keystrokes. You give them the logins for your current insurance. That way you don't have to type anything. They get everything, all the underwriting information from your current homeowner's insurance and your current auto insurance. That's one of the ways they save you a lot of keystrokes. By the way, absolutely private. They make their money in commissions from the company that you end up using, if you end up using them. They don't sell your information. They keep it absolutely private. So it's completely safe to do this. So I entered that in. You link your current insurance account or accounts, And in most cases, it's going to take you just a few minutes to get a quote for the coverage, exactly the same coverage you currently have. That's why you want to log into your existing account. You want the same coverage. It's easy to say, oh, I could save you $1,000, but only if you promise never to drive your car. That's no good. So you're going to get the same coverage. At this point, you've spent nothing. There is no obligation. If you want to move forward with one of the quotes, you say, I don't want to name any particular insurance company, so I won't. But we found one. We said, wow, that's great. Yes, let's move forward with this. Then the insurance company you select reviews your details to confirm the final price. They have to do the full underwriting thing. In some cases, that may involve a phone call with Gabby or a phone call with the company. We didn't have to do any phone calls. But we did they did adjust the price. We ended up saving just about $2,000. One thing I really loved, they looked at the car insurance and they said, you know what, you're getting the best deal we could find. Good job. That was kind of nice too. They didn't try to, bait and switch or anything. They just said, look, you're already getting the best price. So that made me feel good. We had good car insurance. We got a great deal on our homeowners. On average, Gabby customers save $961 per year. $961 in your pocket on average on car and home insurance. If they can't find you savings, as they did with the auto insurance, they'll let you know. So, and actually, that's a nice feeling, hey, I got a good rate. They never sell your info. I used a special phone number, a special email address, as I always do when I try these things out, to see if they're going to sell it. Never, not one call, no spam. They really do keep it private. This is a great thing. I want you to know about it, and I want you to try it. If you're not overpaying, it'll be nice to know. But if you are overpaying, and on average, most people are by as much as $961, Gabby can save you. G-A-B-I, Gabby.com/twig, Gabby.com/twig. As I said, we got the insurance packet last week in the mail, signed off, saved $2,000 right off the bat. That's fantastic. That is a nice feeling. Thank you. Gabby.com/twig. We appreciate your support of This Week in Google.
Gabby Gabby is the new gift.
Gabby Gabby. They sent me a note saying it's pronounced Gabby. Well, they said it's pronounced G-A-B-I. And I said, okay, good, thanks. Thanks for clarifying that. I think they don't mind either way. Hano says Gabby.
How would you say it with an Australian accent?
Gabby, mate. Get it.
Gabby.
Gabby. All right. What did you want to talk about? Oh, yes. The White House has said, yes, there's an issue with chips, with a shortage, and we want to see what we can do about it. Tell us about that, Stacey Higginbotham.
You're muted, Stacey.
I hear nothing. I just see her.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell us about that, Stacey.
All right. For those of you who are not just riveted by the chip industry, there has been a huge shortage of semiconductors. The New York Times actually reported it early on the automotive side. So people actually can't make cars right now because they don't have enough.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Silicon.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is happening in Europe, and so everybody's going to like TSMC and other fabrication.
Our audience knows it because they can't get graphics cards. They can't.
Yes.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
So that was the next thing. So it's not just cars. GSM chips are in short supply. Wi-Fi chips are so hard to find. So like your Wise gear. They actually were like, we're not going to do launch any more Wi-Fi products for a while because we can't get the chips.
Some of this is COVID. There was, though, and I didn't know about this until Alex Lindsay told me, and maybe you didn't either, Stacey. I don't know. There was a big fire at one of the big chip factories, October 20th, in Japan. This is the AKG Audio Semiconductor Factory. They make DACs, digital analog converters, and ADCs, analog to digital converters, used almost everywhere. All the employees got out, but the factory was destroyed. And that's another source. It's going to be offline for at least 6 months. So in the next, that was in October, so October, November, December. Maybe it'll come online next month or the month after. But that affects tons of stuff, including cars.
Yeah, that's like a basic component because
Exactly.
your analog.
Yeah.
That's the real world. Digital is your computing world, and you got to translate between the two.
Yep.
Anyway, so Biden administration's coming in, and Europe is actually doing the same thing. They're trying to figure out, well, how do we tell, the Chinese government, please get Taiwan on the, how do we tell China? How do we tell Taiwan? How do we tell Japan to get their factories not only operational, but sending the products to us and not their own customer or not their local customers.
So this is one of those executive orders. They're a little controversial.
This afternoon, Biden is going to sign the executive order.
He did.
And basically
he signed it.
Oh, he did sign it.
He has signed it now.
Do we have the actual language of the executive order?
Yeah, the order includes, I do have it. This is from CNBC. Biden signs executive order to address chip shortage through a review to strengthen supply chains. The order includes a 100-day review of key products, semiconductors, and advanced batteries in electric vehicles, followed by a broader long-term review of 6 sectors of the economy, allowing for policy recommendations to strengthen supply chains with the goal of quickly implementing the suggestions. This action follows calls from bipartisan members of Congress and industry leaders warning about the potential consequences of the semiconductor shortage. And
this is a big deal. And right now, just to add a little bit more context, there is actually a group of activist investors coming after Intel saying they should divest themselves of their manufacturing capabilities.
Yes.
Intel famously...
Their new CEO, Pat Gelsinger, is the one that's going to decide that at some point soon, I think.
So having this sort of political, it's the opposite of a tailwind, helping them, fend that off will be good. But here in the U.S., we have actually several high-end plants. Samsung has a 300-millimeter fab that's running at a pretty high process node. Micron, they make memory. They've got excellent fabs here in the U.S. But we don't actually have a lot of the smaller components. We have a couple really ancient fabrication plants that do some analog chips. But 79% or almost 80%, I believe, of the chips made today are made not in the U.S. They are made in Taiwan or China or Japan. And so
only about, according to the Semiconductor Industry Association, 12.5% of semiconductors are made in the U.S.
Speaking of strategic,
79% are in Asia.
Yeah. But can you solve this with the stroke of a pen, Stacey? I mean,
so what you're going to have to do is build or retrofit more fabs. And I will tell you right now, we have fabs in this country that people are not, that have just lying dormant or getting transitioned to, like, they're not shopping malls, but data centers or something else. The other thing is fabs are very expensive.
Yeah.
And they take a long time to build. You need access to a lot of fresh and clean water. So there's a lot of, like, New York is really big into this because they poached it from Austin, y'all. They stole it was the innovation center that was established in the 80s in Austin. It helped create, actually, Austin as a tech kind of juggernaut. And it was the Equipment and Manufacturing Industry Association for the Semiconductor Industry. New York stole it. And now New York is, going to try to finagle some money and whatnot to probably, I'm guessing, produce or build fabrication plants there.
We talked about this last week, didn't we? The TSMC bought 1,000 acres of land in North Phoenix in December. They're going to start a $12 billion fab, which won't go online, exactly as you said. It's expensive and it takes a long time to build, for a few years. But we'll make as many as 1,900 jobs there. But this is, that's a few years off. I mean, this is the kind of problem I don't think you can solve real quickly, can you?
So when I'm talking to my sources who are having trouble, a couple things. And actually my guest this week on the podcast is talking about this. On the consumer side, for like consumer devices, what they're having to do is put down more, like order more in advance. So
that's why Apple is not suffering a shortage. They went to TSMC and bought their entire production. They said, we'll take it all. Yes. And they bought so much they could lock it in.
So what's going to happen is if demand doesn't, so they're buying more chip, like a year and a half's worth of chips. So in another year or so, if demand hasn't, demand has fallen or isn't meeting what they thought they would, you're going to see some great sales on electronic devices. That's it. So
what about from a policy perspective? I mean, Leo's point is obviously you can't solve this overnight. But if you're trying to have over the next few years a policy that would help our strategic requirements here, what would that look like? Any idea? Is it just tax breaks? Is it?
Yeah, you start building in the U.S., right?
So there's a couple things. Arizona is a terrible place to make chips. It's great because the land is cheap.
You mentioned
but
water.
The water is expensive.
Yeah.
So you see them in Idaho,
Oregon
Washington
is where
State,
Intel has been making theirs, right?
They have fabs. They have fabs in both, actually. Their next generation fab is actually in Chandler, Arizona. So yes, you should. But cities already do this. Like in Austin, when we were vying for fabs, we gave them everything. When Samsung was looking at their advanced 300 millimeter fab that they put in Austin, the city was like, yes, you want land? We'll give you land. You need guaranteed access to water? We'll give this to you. By the way, in Texas during the power outages, we lost a Samsung plant. We lost a TI plant. We lost actually a couple semiconductor plants for a week because they were offline because of the power shortages.
Because of the power?
It's not going to help. Yep. And water.
Texas.
I know. But yeah, strategically, all you can do is, hopefully this will get the activist investors off of Intel's back, I guess. You don't want to fight the government, right? 2, tax breaks. 3, even pinpointing and saying, hey, this is going to be a focus of ours is going to help. And then some of these things we can't solve, like access to rare earth minerals for batteries.
Right.
We don't have those stores. So maybe we stop pissing off China quite so badly. I don't know.
Yeah, there is no short-term solution, and that's what the auto industry is saying, and there's going to be big shortages in cars this year and so forth. But of course, that doesn't mean you don't do anything. It just means there's nothing you can do that's going to help in the short term, but you could start thinking in the long term about how do we solve this. And I think that's what the 100-day review is designed to do. And acknowledging that we can't make everything here, too. You also have to work with your international partners, as you mentioned, for rare earth materials and so forth. It's important for defense as much as it is for private industry. So administration officials have met with automakers or in discussions with foreign counterparts on ways to increase chip supplies in the near term. Detroit General Motors has shuttered 3 plants in North America from February 8th to at least mid-March. Ford has seen production disruptions in the past several weeks of its pickup, the F-150. I guess I'm lucky I got the car I did, because it has a lot of batteries in it and a lot of electronics. But they built it late last year, and I wonder. So this is, I'm glad. I'm just glad. I'm glad that we have somebody in the White House who at least is paying attention to this stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Whether they can make a difference, well, that's going to depend.
If we can put some fabs in coal mines in West Virginia, maybe we can solve a few problems.
There you go. Put the miners to work. The Pixel 4 saved an unconscious man from being trapped in an overturned vehicle for hours. No, not Tiger Woods. A Reddit user, Post No Spam, his real name is Chuck Walker, posted on Reddit about his experience with car crash detection on his Pixel phone. He was in an accident on his property in Missouri with a bobcat loader.
Not a car.
A bobcat loader. Yeah. The heavy machinery rolled off a ledge and fell into a small ravine, landing upside down. You want to see the picture? Wow. Upside down. He was trapped, injured. The emergency exit was blocked on the bobcat. The main exit blocked. 7 broken ribs, 4 broken thoracic vertebrae. He had a Pixel 4 XL. By the way, I got to find mine. now that I read this, even though the phone was thrown out of reach during the accident, it was enough to trigger car crash detection. The phone contacted 911.
That's awesome.
He was unconscious, but when he woke up, he yelled for help, only to hear through his Bluetooth earbud, which apparently survived the rollover, that an emergency dispatcher was connected and had already sent rescue services.
And you say technology's a bad thing.
I do not.
None of us have ever said that, Jeff.
Never, not once.
Joking.
I say Facebook's a bad thing. Now I really want to find my Pixel. I want to start carrying that around with me. So if you have a Pixel phone, look for the safety app, and in that app settings, there's an option for car crash detection. It is not on by default. I guess he had turned it on. It was originally exclusive to the Pixel 4.
Well, public service here. How do we turn it on?
Safety app. Open it up. And in the settings for the safety app, there's a car crash detection option.
I've never turned that on.
Pixel 3, 4, 5, 4A, 4A, 5G. This article from 9 to 5 of Google implies that you already have the safety app, but if you don't see it, maybe you do have to.
I don't see it, but I don't know. I also don't see it to be downloaded.
Is it a setting?
Maybe it's in settings.
Room,
here's a picture. Here's a picture. Personal safety. Send status updates during emergency sharing, and then turn on car crash detection.
All right, I'm going to settings.
Yeah, maybe you have to download the personal safety app.
There is no app to download.
Well, I don't know what they're talking about.
I looked for the safety app and did not see anything.
I don't know.
I thought it was
personal
a part
safety
of the
app
OS
information.
originally.
Wait a second. I went to open. No, I went to settings. I then searched for safety, and I see a personal safety app here. Continue as me? No, why would I not want to continue as me? I'll continue as me. No.
Wait, is it under? Where is it under settings?
Yeah, I thought it was in. I thought it was in the OS.
Emergency contacts.
Oh, safety.
I've just found out that my Pixel 4 is at home, so I can't help you here. Thank goodness, Find My Phone works though. I now know where it is. I forgot I had that.
Are any of you neurotic like I am? If I go out to get the mail.
Okay,
did you find it, Stacey?
I found it, but I had to search for safety, and it is called personal safety.
But then, Stacey, I didn't find the auto thing in there.
So
it's in settings.
Mine is enabled already.
Oh, good.
Permissions, contacts.
Oh, good.
All my. Oh, but I am denying it my location, so it won't help me.
Yeah, it'll send them to the wrong spot. That's right. They say that in the article too. Make sure you turn on location permissions. Yep.
And I also denied the microphone.
Yours is already enabled. Maybe it's on by default.
Start setup.
Physical activity access.
Ooh.
Interesting. All right.
What were you saying when you
call my wife and she'll think it's a spam call and not answer it?
Yeah. Were you saying, Jeff, you don't even go to check your mail without your phone?
Yeah, just in case I have a heart attack in the yard.
That's a good idea.
I'm neurotic.
That's a very good idea. Yeah. I can't actually. This is my car key, so I can't go anywhere without my phone because it opens the car for me and starts the engine, which is a nice feature.
That would make me feel really uncomfortable.
Like if you lost your phone.
You have a key though, right?
Yeah. So this is weird. This is that new Ford Mustang Mach-E I got. You get one fob. And I said, "What? This is it?" They said, "Yeah, you only get one, because you can have up to 4 phones act as a key." But I thought, I had the same thing. Like, well, what if the battery's dead? So it turns out the car also has a password that you can use to drive. So when you set up when you get in the car the first time, you give it there's a keypad on the door that you can use to open the door. That won't start the car, but then there's a button you can push on the car, and you type in the password on the on-screen keyboard, and then the car drives. So I feel like I leave the fob at home now. I don't feel like I need the fob.
Is the phone? Is it talking to the cloud? Because like if you're in like a parking garage where there's no cell service,
Bluetooth LE.
Okay.
So now I just
it does have to talk to the cloud when you set it up. It's setting up it sets up a secured token on here, but that's only when you're first setting it up.
Okay. Because like I can't start my Tesla from my phone without a cloud connection.
Yeah, see, yes, I know. Yes, I remember that. The Tesla app will let you start the car. But this is different. This is like Apple has a similar process. It only works with a couple of BMWs right now. But that the phone is a car key using Bluetooth LE. So as I approach the car with my phone, the car lights up. I can push the button to open the door. I can get in.
It's happy to see you.
It's like it's happy to see you. It actually is. It's kind of cute. It's a nice feature. You would like this Mustang, Stacy. I think it's a very has many. It's like they learned from the Tesla. I think they probably stole everything they could.
All right.
What do you drive, Ant?
A purple Jeep.
What do you drive?
No, my car still requires an actual key.
Yeah, there's no key.
You have to get cut.
There's no key for the door. There's no. In fact, the fob will have that emergency key you can pull out of the fob. On mine, it's just there's nothing. Yep. It's unmarked.
Wow.
It's just a stick.
Wow.
I know. There's nowhere to put it.
Fancy.
Yeah,
I showed my keys to kids today, and they're like, "What is this?
What's that do?
Is this how you open the front door of your home?
It is.
Or what?"
If you think of it, a key is very medieval. Like, yes, I have machined this metal in such a way that only it can open this door is a crazy idea. Really.
It worked for a long
Worked for hundreds of years. Sure did. Yeah.
But I drive a Chrysler 300.
A nice car, too. I always say, somebody fancy's visiting the studio when Ant pulls up. That's a fancy guy. It looks fancy. It looks fancy.
No, my car is a beater.
It looks like a limousine. I'm not kidding.
See, you think the Dark Ages are Dark Ages? They're not. The key was invented between the years of 870 and 900.
Wow.
Attributed to an English craftsman, Theodorus of Samos.
Oh, that's what I often call my key.
No, it was invented. The first full all-metal locks appeared between 870 and 900. The key was invented by Theodorus of Samos in the 6th century BC. BC.
So it is more than medieval. It's almost prehistoric.
Prehistoric, yeah.
Portland has decided they don't want a smart city either. You remember Google's Sidewalk Smart City was rejected by Toronto. Now, the Google Smart City plan for Portland, Oregon, also Sidewalk Labs.
It's a spin-out technology called Replica. So they spun out a company for mobility data called Replica. And
kind of the same reason, though.
Portland is rejecting.
Yeah, because Replica did not want to share data with the city at the level the city wanted.
Well, it didn't want to share how it built its algorithms. Portland was the wrong place. It was also rejected by Kansas City.
Oh, wow.
Why you're getting all haughty about Portland.
Replica told the BBC it was unwilling to share data to the level of detail requested by the city. At Replica, we believe better insights should not come at the cost of personal privacy. We were not willing to compromise our privacy principles, which frustrated our Portland Metro client and ultimately led to an early end of the project.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's interesting. It wasn't the Google spinoff that was trying to spy on people. Well, I guess it was, but they didn't want to share it with the city.
I think they were worried about their algorithms. They didn't want to share how they were deriving the insights. That's
not what they're saying. They're saying the city wanted the data.
Oh, okay.
The software used non-identifiable mobile data location. Mobile location data show how people move through a city. The plan was to use the data to make policy decisions about where to build bike lanes, how and when to repair roads. This would be great. And to make sure bus services would be efficient and reaching all communities. Fast Company reported there were concerns about a lack of transparency around how the technology worked. So maybe maybe we are hearing different stories from each side. Like Google Replica is saying they wanted all the information, and the city's saying we wanted to know where that information came from.
Is it too expensive to just put sensors down throughout the city?
It's a lot more expensive if everybody's carrying these things, and think about it. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
you just have to.
You got is phenomenal.
You get the location data, much better than those little rubber. By the way, ironic. That was Bill Gates' first business. Trafo data. He and Paul Allen, when they were in high school, created a company. Remember, you've seen those little rubber things on the street?
Yeah.
Trafo Data was a partnership between Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and Paul Gilbert in the 70s to read the data from those traffic counters so that traffic engineers could decide what kind of, use the road was getting.
I figure those things still work quite efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, rubber hoses. They create air pulses recorded by a roadside counter. In the 70s, the counts were mechanically recorded on a roll of paper tape. When they were in high school, Paul Allen and Bill Gates decided they could process the data cheaper and faster than the local companies. So they had classmates. This is so Bill Gates.
Nerds.
They got classmates to read the whole patterns in the paper tape, transcribe it onto computer cards, and then borrowed a computer time at the University of Washington to produce the traffic flow charts. Paul Allen's father was a librarian at UW, and that's how they were able to get that computer.
Of course.
Of course. Yep. Anyway, I don't know how we. Oh yeah, sidewalk replica, Portland.
Yeah, there's a redtailmedia.org. A woman who has been covering this since I guess day one. It looks like a he said she said.
Yeah.
And if you read that, this story is epically long, but it goes into a lot of depth.
Damaged trust. It's damaged trust. This sounds very much like the he said she said in Toronto. There's just some sort of mismatch between city government and these.
I think it's because cities have to do two things. They have to provide a service that their people, their constituents can understand, and two, they are accountable to these people, so they have to provide information about what that is. And if they can't get those things, they don't want to do the project. And that makes sense.
I have to point out, sometimes cities are a little grasping also because, for instance, it's happened in a number of cities that the data about mass transit, like subways and buses, which really should be public data, the cities are withholding from Google Maps and others because they want to make their own app for when the subway or the bus is coming next, instead of letting this be part of a map app. And that's, in my opinion, that's public data. They don't own that data. That's everybody's data. And if Google wants to put them in the maps,
New Jersey,
they should
there was a case. There was a wonderful case where if you go to Penn Station for a train, you see a whole bunch of people like this, ready to run. Because they never tell you where the train is coming in until like 2 minutes before. So everybody runs down. So this guy came along with this great thing, and he said, okay, I'm going to look at the history of where the 476 to Ronkonkoma comes. That's actually Long Island, but it sounds fun. And I'm going to tell you the odds of, you have 93% odds that you're track 3. So you stand by track 3, so 93% of the time you win. The NJ Transit tried to stop him and insist that was like private data, owned data, and the courts said, no. So he still has a service. It's great.
Good. Yeah, the cities are not necessarily always acting in the best interests of the voters.
Nor in privacy. I always say that government is not your friend when it comes to privacy. Government wants a trove of data, and you don't know what they're going to do with it. I'm not a libertarian, but...
Good news, Samsung has just announced that Galaxy phones and other products like tablets launched in the last 2 years since 2019 will now receive 4 years of security updates. That's better than Google, which only, I think, does 2 years.
Oh, that's really good.
Thank you, Samsung. Balls in your court, Google.
Did they explain why they're doing that?
I don't know, but I would guess it has something to do with loss of market share to Apple because people think that Android phones aren't very safe, and they're right in some cases. That these patches are important. I would bet it's also the business market, Stacy. I would guess, because Samsung's trying to get businesses to think Knox and so forth are, trustworthy and reliable, and this probably has a lot to do with it as well. Go ahead.
Well, I wondered if because the EU is actually looking at adopting the planned obsolescence law that France had enacted a long time ago. So the EU has been talking a lot about that, and one of the things under that law is actually dictating how long a device should be useful for. So I just wondered if that was maybe driving something like this, because theoretically it could.
Your Pixels go out of support after 3 years.
3 years.
Our Pixels, I should say. Yeah.
With the iPhone, what's their service? Is it forever? Because I don't know. 3 years?
I don't think they have an official policy. There gets to be a point where you can't put the latest operating system on an iPhone, and that happens.
That happens with Android too.
Yeah, it happens, but it's. I don't know if Apple says we're not going to support it after a fixed period of time. I think at some point they say, "Oh, you can't put iOS 14 on an iPhone 4." Actually, the iOS 14 is for. Thank you, Scooter X. It's 5 years on iOS. iOS 14 is iPhone 6S or later.
Okay. Cool.
So and security goes on. That's for OS updates. Security goes on a little bit after that.
It's good to see that Samsung is doing this, because a lot of people just can't afford to buy phones, especially these $1,000 phones. And when they opt to buy those less expensive phones, security is always the topic of discussion. And, people are saying, well, paying that extra money for that iOS device is giving me peace of mind, because I'm going to continue to get these security updates.
Right. Actually, interestingly, Samsung has had that 4-year policy in place for enterprise devices for over a year. Okay. So it was in response to enterprise, but it now is it's for all users, which I think is really good. And I bet you Google adds a year to their. Many Android phones don't even have 2 years. It's like,
all right.
They're low-cost devices.
I would love to not be able to get rid of my phone.
I know. Which you have a 3 or a 4?
I have a 3A, but I still like it.
It's a great phone.
I can't remember.
Still works.
When I bought it.
It is. It's ridiculous that we have to get rid of these phones every couple of years. That's just not. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for us.
I think when we move to the blob.
The blob is the solution.
The blob.
And we're going to call it Stacy's blob.
Stacy's blob. Excellent.
Stacy's blob's got it going on. There's even a song for it. It's great.
Already.
Would you like to do a changelog? Or do you want to talk about Twitter?
Or what about
there's one
Twitter?
little story here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Twitter. The Twitter's good.
What's
that and
TikTok, Twitter? What is it? What do you want to do?
Poor Fry's.
Oh, the end of the line on Fry's. That's so sad. Fry's Electronics. It's only important to people in Texas and California. Didn't Fry's, Jeff, used to be a grocery store at first, and then they moved to electronics, and then all the Fry's stores in the Bay Area anyway had a theme. Like there was an Egyptian one.
Cowboys.
Southern California was to do that too? Okay. Yeah, sad to see. Here's a list of the... Thank you. Again, Scooter X, our unofficial producer. Here's a list of all these store themes. In Phoenix, it was an Aztec temple. In Anaheim, it was the space shuttle. In Burbank, 1950s science fiction, ancient Egypt and Campbell. Ruins of ancient Rome in Fountain Valley. The Fremont Fry store, which I think was the first one, the 1893 World's Fair. What a good idea. This was such a cool store. Geeks would go there. I have to admit, maybe the products necessarily weren't the greatest ever. I remember people were buying refurbished hard drives from Fry's.
Yeah.
Things like that.
It was almost a hobbyist supermarket. So it was 1972, Charles Fry sold Fry's supermarkets in California to Dillon's. He gave a portion of the proceeds, approximately $1 million, to each of his sons, John
and Randy.
And W. Randolph.
Yeah.
Randy. And then they decided to open an electronics store.
Oh, and so it's been around since the mid-'80s. Okay. Sunnyvale was the first. I remember going to Fry's Sunnyvale all the time. So much fun.
When was the last time you went into one, sir?
Oh, ages. I haven't been in a store in a long time.
I was online last night, and I kept seeing breaking, Fry's is closing. Breaking, Fry's is closing. And I'm thinking, I'm not even from here and never been into a Fry's, but from what I've been hearing is people haven't really been going to those stores.
I think Amazon and Newegg. I mean, You don't need to go to a store.
What do you expect?
Anymore.
It's not breaking. I mean, I'm sorry.
Who's going in
That's
to buy
not breaking
fans
news.
to make a PC? Right?
I used to do their ads in San Francisco. Your best computer buys are always at Fry's. Guaranteed.
Those pipes.
I tried to get the whole, all the Fry's account for all Fry's stores, but I never got to. I only got the San Francisco stores, this Bay Area stores. But I love doing those ads. They would write like
wanted a little moment.
They would write 3,000 words a copy in a 60-word ad. You would be going so fast. But you always had time at the end to say, your best computer buys are always at Fry's. Guaranteed. Sad. Let's do the, but before we do the, I guess
you want to Twitter?
We should probably do some Twitter stories. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to do anything short shrift. Birders are fighting over celebrity birds on Twitter.
That's not the one I would have gone to here, but yeah. So the problem is
Scott Bourne mentioned in here?
So we have celebrity birds and like the Mandarin duck in New York, and people take pictures of it. And on the one hand, that increases the ranks of birders who love birds. On the other hand, hordes come to watch the poor duck and scare the heck
It's the Instagram problem. You can't go anywhere famous anymore without people barging in and taking Instagram photos of it.
You just can't be a fancy duck anymore. It just doesn't work.
Can't be a fancy duck anymore.
No.
Dorsey says Twitter needs to go all in on
That's the story I thought you were going to do.
Subscriptions.
Yeah.
I think
If
I
he
would
really
actually.
adds value.
Go ahead,
I
Stacey.
have a loyal following. I would think of moving my newsletter and doing it with Twitter.
They'll have a newsletter, right? They bought that newsletter review.
They bought Review. And I was already evaluating it before they bought it, so I was like, I'm seriously
$5 a month, you'd do that, right?
Makes sense.
Keep your.
Oh, wait.
No?
It depends on if I can keep my ads. I don't actually want to do a subscription. Never mind. I don't want to do a subscription.
No. But
This is my issue.
We'll fix it in post. Mark that.
So is the idea, I mean, look, they can't make you pay for Twitter. That's not going to work.
Right.
Maybe they make you pay for TweetDeck.
This is our discussion last week.
I would pay for
I think
TweetDeck.
that if they had a premium level of curation, I'd possibly pay.
A special filter. That's what we were talking about last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the Twitter
I don't know what
twins.
Jack's talking about, but
do you want to see the Twitter twins report? Oh, I have to log in.
I put that
I don't
in there.
want to see
You don't. It's marketing. It's BS. You got to download it. No, never mind.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. No.
Don't do it. I should have taken them out of there. It's like people care about their health. No, really?
California.
Let's make it a what are the health hashtags?
After Ajit Pai robbed us of our net neutrality regulations, what is that, 2017? 2018? California enacted the Open Internet Law, but it was immediately challenged in court by, take a guess, who might have challenged that? AT&T, Comcast, Verizon.
Oh, the neutrality.
Yeah, they
the
don't
law
like.
itself.
They didn't like that. So, and by the way, the Trump-era Justice Department sued to block them. There were lawsuits all over.
Goodbye now.
The case has remained in legal limbo for years until the Democrats took control of the White House. Justice Department withdrew the case. That's the beginning. On Tuesday, a federal judge in California sided with the state in a ruling that net neutrality supporters saw as a major win. The judge found the law is on solid legal foundation, that ISPs trying to overturn it are not likely to prevail. She rejected a request for injunctive relief from the Communications Association, the CTIA, the NCTA, and U.S. Telecom. And incidentally
relief
implied...
sounds like you have pink eye.
I know. I want injunctive relief, please. There's a salve for that. So Jessica Rosenworcel, who is, besides having the best name in the world, Rosenworcel said...
Rosenworcel.
Oh, it's Rosenworcel. Oh, that's not.
It's Rosenworcel.
I thought it was Rosenmorsel. Okay. No. Anyway,
I think Rosenworcel's a pretty good name.
She's the new, no. I love the name, and actually, she was a great commissioner. She was the only commissioner, who really got it as far as I was concerned. And she, of course, was very much against the FCC withdrawing net neutrality regulations. She's now the acting chairwoman of the FCC, hailing the decision in a tweet. When the FCC, over my objection, rolled back its net neutrality policy, states like California sought to fill the void with their own laws. Tonight, a court in California decided the state law can go into effect. That's right. It hasn't been in effect 2 whole years. This is big news, she writes, for open internet policy. And by the way, you got to love an FCC chairperson who understands hashtags. Hashtag net neutrality, hashtag open internet.
She's also she's put forth an effort to do a better broadband map. Go, Jessica Rosenworcel!
Go, Rosenworcel! Rosenworcel, you're our...
Rosenworcel. Cheer.
She is incredibly well-informed, and she's
really good. Yeah. Why is she not the chairman? What is that? Why is she the acting chairman? What is the deal there?
I don't think they can do a chairman until they get their next commissioner, and the next commissioner is a while off.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and then the president gets to name the chair, but they have to fill all those seats first, right? Something like that?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah.
By the way,
but she's doing an auction, so, as much as she can, she's doing. She's created the $50 credit as part of the...
It's about time.
So, yeah.
Yes, what about Rick Clow?
So he has a new job. He is the California State Chief Technology Innovation Officer.
I love Rick Clow.
Rick is a great guy.
He's a husband,
he was
dad
at Google
of 3.
Ventures before that.
A tech pundit. He
No. He was a tech doer.
Yeah, Clow. I know Clow because didn't he do FeedBurner? I want to say FeedBurner.
FeedBurner.
Yeah.
FeedBurner. Yes.
And then Google bought it, and that's how he got it. Google, and then got on Google Ventures.
And then he was Google Ventures.
Yeah.
And really good guy.
I've known Rick since FeedBurner days. He was very supportive of Twit. Really nice guy. And he is now the Chief Technology Innovation Officer for the state of California. Bravo, Rick. Good going.
Isn't it great?
It's nice when the good guys win.
Give that man a Taco Bell chicken sandwich.
Is FeedBurner still around?
I don't think so, no. I think the way of RSS reader.
Google Reader. I thought it all went with that.
Yeah, for some reason when I go to FeedBurner, it does welcome me back in Japanese. Wow, it's still around. It looks exactly like it did when Rick was running the place. Copyright 2004.
Mine doesn't have the Japanese. Refresh it. Because I'm getting the same page, but not the Japanese.
Oh.
See, it just throws in.
It does different stuff. I see. That's a saying. My feet think the rotation doesn't look. That's interesting. So you can. This was the first podcast I ever created. The Tech Guy. I wonder if it's got the actual.
This turned things into RSS feed.
Yeah. So when I first started podcasting back in 2004, FeedBurner was an easy way to create the feed, but obviously, no one subscribes to it now. Wow.
But it still exists. Yes, Google forgot to kill it.
Google apparently forgot
Mountain View
to kill it.
No, this poor ant. No, I'm charming. Leave me alone.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
It don't cost anybody anything.
That's wild.
Somebody just had an alert go off in their office, and they're like, some app fired up?
What the hell happened there? No, you're right. That's probably right. It's probably an app running on
Exterminators.
Google code, and nobody's used it in 10 years, and all of a sudden they're going to say, well, cut that thing out. It's time for the Google changelog. Ah, yes.
Google changelog.
Nice timing, Jammer B.
I wonder if Stacy will like this idea. You know, there was Google had YouTube Kids. They still do. But what happens when your kids get to 13 years old? Well, now Google has added a new supervised mode. So
I asked for this so long ago because I was like, every tech company out there is like, oh, when you're 13, you're just suddenly an adult in the eyes of the tech world because of the... And that is not true.
So you got a tween. Is she still a tween?
I have a teen.
She's a teen now.
She's 14.
Officially.
She's
officially
hardcore teeny.
A teen. And so, I mean, I think that that's really true that even at the age of 14, there's stuff on YouTube you probably really wouldn't want her to see. So this new restricted mode will allow
There's stuff
you...
on YouTube I don't even want to see.
I know.
I don't want to see.
Yeah. YouTube collaborated with parents and experts in child safety, child development, and digital literacy to develop the supervised account offering. So how do you get to it? That's my question. It's going to launch in beta in the coming months in more than 80 countries, including the U.S. This is going to be part of a supervised Google account. So if you go to Google for Families Help, you can see how you can create a Google account for your child.
That's nice, because we were actually I had created an email account for my daughter, and I was asking her just like a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, you're 14 now, you're a young woman, do you want your own email account that you
Girl, you're a woman now. Gotta sign up for the Gmail account.
And that was actually something we sat down to do. So this is a little late for us, but I mean, I don't want to read her emails anymore, but I do want to be able to check in every now and then and make sure.
Does she not have a school Google account? Because so many schools use Google Classroom for...
Yeah, she does, but Google Classrooms, you can't see, and as a parent, you don't get any access to that, and that's all. They don't do anything fun there because
it's just
their teachers can see it.
Yeah. So this is good. You get Search, Chrome, Gmail. You can set up basic digital ground rules to supervise them, and soon added to this will be a version of YouTube with some supervision as well. I think that's a really good thing. Google has some, I didn't know this, some lightweight HTML5 games. They call them game snacks. They launched them last year.
Fried chicken and jalapenos? Yeah. Does it have that?
Jalapenos.
Jalapenos? There's not a tilde, though, over the end.
I think there is.
Jalapeno.
No. Yeah. It's a male.
Or jalapeno. No, I can't. That's wrong. It's jalapeno.
Yeah, there is a tilde. You're right. There's a tilde.
There's a tilde.
Yeah.
It's a medium-sized chili pepper. And it's got a little
delicious.
Sorry. Keep going. I want to have dinner. Keep going.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, by the way, you can buy those pickled in a jar and you can add them to your quesadillas and they're delicious.
They are.
I do that every day.
And they're not as hot when they're pickled.
Jalapeño.
I actually, because I got a little bit of agita, so I get the tamed ones.
What do they call them?
Jalapeño.
Tamed.
Oh, man, that caught me off guard.
Android's latest update will let you schedule texts, secure your passwords, and more. These are new features coming to Android. I guess Android 11. This is the spring 2021 release. Kind of like point releases on iOS, where you get new functionality and features outside of the large, yearly cycle. A feature called Password Checkup will be added to devices running Android 9 and up to alert you to passwords you're using that have been exposed. That will work with autofill. You'll have to have autofill enabled to use that. The scheduled send feature on Google Messages will allow you to compose a message ahead of time. Oh, this is great. If you want to sneak around, you can send, or like if you're going to murder somebody, you can have it send a message right. Send a message right at the time when you're murdering the person, saying, "Oh, I'm stuck here at the gas station, but I'll be home in a bit. There's a long line," and then you're golden.
Okay.
Just a little hint.
Did they talk about this on All About Android?
I'm sure they did. To use this feature, write the text as usual. Press and hold the send button to select a date and time to deliver the message. You do have to have the latest version of Android messages to do that. I am interested in this. In fact, I'm going to go home and try it. I have the new Chromecast with Google TV, that new one with the remote. They've now added an Apple TV app, which is wild. My experience. Wow. Yes. What? Wait, what? So now I can watch Ted Lasso on my Google TV.
Such a great show.
Yeah, isn't it?
That is a great show.
It's starting tomorrow, I guess. Users with the $50 Chromecast with Google TV adapter will be able to. I guess you'll have to install the Apple TV app, do you have to subscribe? I think you probably do. Yeah, it's not the same thing as the Apple TV set-top box. It's the app for Apple TV Plus, I guess. So you get those shows. But that's nice. Jetpack Compose enters beta, making Android UI development easier. Enough said about that. No idea. Google is bringing games to Android Auto, and just in time, you can now play games. You know, I have Android Auto. I should try this while you're driving your car. There's a Trivia Crack. Not the best name.
I remember that game.
Trivia Crack, yeah. You could play. I think, should you be playing this while you drive?
That would be no.
It seems like, from now on, say, hey, you know who, play a game. And
is that why he left? Because he couldn't play games on Waze?
Oh, that was it.
This is terrible.
Well,
you can't, I mean.
No, maybe it's voice only.
I don't care. So. Like, especially with younger drivers, you should not be distracted while driving. And actually, when you're older, you are also bad because you think you're so confident. But
your Tesla, doesn't it have, don't you have Space Invaders or something on your Tesla?
I don't know, because I don't play games while I'm trying to drive. It's a very...
Oh, you Miss Goody Two-Shoes. I don't play games when I try to drive. Well, excuse me.
Cars
I'm with
kill
you.
so many
pay
people.
Attention. I agree. No, I agree 100%.
I'm frozen in a pic.
Google Calendar now lets you set split work hours and repeating out-of-office entries. That's good. This is really an acknowledgement of work from home, I think. So you can you could set an out-of-office entry that repeats over and over and over again. I'm playing Trivia Crack. Go away. This makes it a lot easier. So, I'm going to always be eating lunch at noon. You can have it automatically do that. I think that's good. And I don't know if you've noticed on your Gmail, but Google Chat suddenly popped up.
Yeah, not thrilled about that.
Not thrilled about that. Lisa was all excited. She said, we're getting rid of Slack. We're going to all use Google Chat. And then I talked her out of it.
No.
I still have Hangouts on mine, and I want chat.
Yeah.
Like, give me chat.
Give me chat.
Please.
Yeah, that's right, because we used to have Hangouts there. The chat and Meet will all be there with your Google Gmail. Also on the mobile app, apparently. Oh, you know why you don't have it? Do you have a paid Google Workspace account?
Yes,
you do.
I do. I want to kill it.
This must be Andrew's idea.
No, it was mine, but I'm changing up all of my systems. I hate it.
What would you prefer, do you think?
This has been my issue. Like, am I going to go Office 365? God, no.
No, right. Ooh. You know what you need?
So, superhuman.
Jalapeño.
Okay, I can't decide why y'all think this is funny.
You're laughing too.
Well, it's just really random. I just don't know why it's
all
funny.
about the timing.
That's why it's funny.
Oh, okay.
Don't you know comedy?
I am not funny. I am just sincere.
That's right. She is really sincere, and I apologize.
Horribly sincere.
We should not be fooling around. But you're like that teacher, that comes in, the substitute teachers. You're really serious. We just can't resist egging you on.
I know.
I closed that tab. I will not be able to do it again.
It's okay.
I promise.
For a few minutes.
Sorry.
Oh, man. He's right back.
Okay, open the tab again.
Jalapeño.
Don't you change, Stacy. You be you.
Serious.
I will continue to be my sincere, unfunny.
We love the way you are.
Indeed.
And that's the Google change
Is there another
law.
word that'd be as funny? Can you think of another word that would be as funny as jalapeno?
No, there's something about jalapeno. It's just funny.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It does. It's surprising.
I'm with
jumping
you.
out of the.
I am not happy with either workspace, which we use here at Twit, although we use it really heavily. I mean, getting rid of it would be hard. We use Slack, and that's why Lisa was saying, well, why are we paying for Slack? We could just use chat in Google Workspaces. We already have it. We're already paying for it. But you pay by seat. It's not cheap once you add up all the people. It's probably, what is it, $5 per seat per month or something. But Office isn't, and that I wouldn't, especially for just a small business like yours, Stacey, I wouldn't do Office.
Yeah, so I mean,
how about Zoho? What do you think about Zoho? Do you like Zoho?
Well, really, all I need, if I look at my Google services, it's mostly email. I have Google Voice. I would keep that.
Right.
I just want to take email out of the equation, which I could do with something like Superhuman, because it's only me and Andrew.
Yeah.
Kevin is not on it because he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
He's like, I would like to not have that hassle in my life. And I'm like, that's fair.
Zoho does all of that. So you want to have you would still use Gmail, but just something else for everything else? Is that it?
Well, we don't, I mean, I write in Google Docs, but I can do that
anywhere.
My personal account.
With anything, yeah. There are better writing
we're switching,
tools.
Yeah, and we're doing, I mean, I'm actually evaluating Trello for...
Trello's cool, yeah.
Because the new version of Trello looks really good for the
Basecamp, you ever take a look at Basecamp?
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Basically, I just need the email. Email and... Yeah, mostly email.
I was thinking of changing... They just announced, Basecamp, Jason Fried just announced that, their hey.com email system, they're going to set up a blog that you could email your blog, and they would run the blog. And I love these simple blogging platforms. I don't know why, but I keep trying those out.
It's still hard to write. That's why.
Yeah.
You're like, if only something would just lower it a little, it'd be more fun.
Yeah.
And you're like,
no, you're right.
But it's not.
No, it's hard. Writing is just hard. I actually run a static blog that I use Emacs to write in.
Ooh.
And that's
old school.
It's pretty old school. It's okay. It's okay.
Wow.
You get used to Emacs, you get the keystrokes, and I've used it for a while. It's kind of a natural flow, but the real problem is not the tool. It's hard to write. That's the problem.
I'm gonna make mine in WordStar.
Are you?
WordStar.
Control H. Yeah.
Yeah. What did I just read about Word? Oh yeah, I know what I just read. Spotify's doing a deal with WordStar so that you could take your WordPress. Never mind.
I was like, WordStar still around?
Never mind. Actually,
Spotify? Wow.
There is a WordStar story. Seymour Rubenstein just passed away. Do you know who he is, Jeff? You're the only one who would know in this group.
The inventor of WordStar?
No.
Oh.
He was very tightly connected with WordStar because he was the distributor of WordStar. That's
arcane knowledge.
Well, yeah, probably is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But without him, there would have been no WordStar. Let's put it that way. He founded MicroPro. Do you know that name? MicroPro International?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
In 1978. He made a deal with Rob Barnaby, who wrote WordStar. So they distributed it. SuperSort was another of their programs. Anyway, Rubenstein, who was an early computer pioneer, very... I think important in the computer industry, passed away at the age of 87 a couple of weeks ago. So, you know what? Track
WordStar
changes.
was invented.
Track Changes. I was just looking. Yeah,
Track
it's
Changes.
A great book.
That is
Matthew Kirschenbaum.
Yep.
Track Changes.
Talks all about that.
Wonderful book for geeks.
Seymour's in there. Yep. Yeah, you recommended that a while ago. What were you saying? I'm sorry, Stacey.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Oh, no, I was going to say that WordStar was invented the year I was born. Is the fun tidbit of the day.
Incidentally, Jeff and I probably still remember how to. What's the save command in WordStar? Do you remember? It's in your fingers.
Control S.
It's that.
Control KS. You're right. It's 2 KS. Control KS.
Yeah.
Once you get those things don't go. All right. I think we could probably do our last ad and get you guys out of here with your picks of the week in just a second. How do you feel? What say you? Do you have any?
Yay or
Jalapeno.
Jalapeño.
Jalapeño.
Now you're getting it.
Our show today.
It's been a while.
Brought to you by IT Pro TV. Don Pizzette, Tim Broom, two guys I have such respect for. Met them first many years ago. They were IT trainers in the traditional classroom setting, and they came to a panel that I was on. I think Adam Carolla was on the panel. It was about internet broadcasting, basically, at the NAB show in Las Vegas. And they watched us talk about, this new world of internet media. And they said, instead of a classroom, what if we did kind of like what Twit is, but just for IT training? And IT Pro TV was born. Now, that was in 2013. Now they are just taking off like crazy. 7 studios, count them, in their Gainesville facility, open and running, making live programming Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But by the way, I should say, yes, you can watch the live programming. In fact, it's free to watch the live programming. They have a chat room. But the reason they're doing so much is because they're creating a library of IT training in every area of IT, 5,800 hours of IT training. Not just for the certs. Of course, that's a big part of their business. That's what they started doing to get a job in IT, to get that first job, especially when you don't have any experience that you can talk about. It's helpful to have those certifications. They just show you have the knowledge. And of course, there are many, many certs out there. The best known, probably, especially for entry-level IT jobs, are the A+, Network Plus, Security Plus certs from CompTIA. Actually, IT Pro TV is the only official video training partner for CompTIA, so they've got the best courses in that area. But there's also training in Microsoft and in Cisco and in Apple and in Linux. There's so much to learn. They don't just teach you IT skills. They teach you the knowledge you need to be an IT professional. They get the in-demand skills. They'll help you choose the part. There's all kinds of IT. There's security, there's desktop IT, there's networking. They'll help you pick the one that works best for you. A great time to get into IT. Last time I looked, 4 million open jobs in IT, especially in security. An IT career could be rewarding and have longevity. If you're looking for a better life for you, for your family, IT Pro TV is the affordable, fun, interesting way to get the skills you need to get the job you want and to keep that job. One reviewer on the site said, "This site has helped me with 2 certifications, also as the supplemental material for my grad school classes." Wow, give it a try. You won't be disappointed. And you do it all from the safety and comfort of your own home at your own schedule. If you've got a day job, you could do it at night. You can do it any time that works for you. You don't have to watch live. They've got on-demand classes with the best teachers, too, who are real pros in the field, but also they're entertaining, they're fun, they're engaging. You never get bored. Watch it on your big screen TV, your computer, your phone. They've got apps for Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku. You watch it everywhere. This month, Project Management Month at IT Pro TV. They did a great seminar on 2/11 called Navigating the Future of Project Management. They have courses in PMP, ITIL, Service Management, and Agile. They've got courses in everything you need to know to get a great job in IT, plus the coaching, the support, the mentoring. You can also get their free podcast. Don Pizzette, right there on the screen, does a show called TechNado, featuring industry guests and IT news recaps, a deeper dive into the IT realm. It's a great time to be getting a career in IT. And this is the best way to do it. Go to itpro.tv/twit. Use the code TWIT30 to receive 30% off all consumer subscriptions. itpro.tv/twit. Offer code TWIT30. For an additional 30% off. That's a huge discount. As long as you stay active, that discount is in force. IT Pro TV. Build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. itpro.tv/twit. Thank you, IT Pro TV, for your support. They've been with us since they started back in 2013, and I'm just thrilled to see how well they're doing. It's really great. Time for Stacy's thing. Stacy?
My thing this week is Ting.
Ting?
I'm going to have y'all. It is not the Two Cows mobile service.
Oh,
it is,
okay.
Let's see. What is it? Ting Fire Risk? Hold on. Ting Plug. Hold on. I'm terrible. Tingfire.com.
It's fire safety.
Yes. So this little doohickey.
You've invested a lot into your
Here, let me turn off the audio so you don't have to.
I was like, what is happening?
This is the Ting video.
That's Stacey's
This is an outlet that detects weird behavior in your electrical, in your electrical, and it tells you, hey, you have a risk of fire. So I'm going to show you the app if you want to see.
So it's not a fire alarm, but it protects you because of problems in your wiring.
Right. So here's what it looks like most of the time.
I'm getting this.
I
love this idea. Yeah, show it. You were doing it right. Yeah.
All right. So this is showing the voltage coming in and around my house, and it'll tell me when things get weird.
It's expensive.
It is $50.
This says $349.
Oh no, that's the service, Leo. The actual device itself should only be.
Oh, so you don't have to get the service?
It's 40. Oh, do they only do it as a service now?
Oh, I think so.
Hold up.
I think so. I think you got. I mean, $349. Look, electrical fires are nasty, and you plug this into the wall, and then it has a sensor, and they monitor it too. Apparently.
Yeah, but they must have just changed this because it was $49.99.
Oh man. Let me go to Amazon, see if I can buy a Ting fire sensor.
Let's see.
I don't think so. They must have just changed it.
So State Farm, if you have State Farm as your insurer, they offer this to
They should subsidize it. You bet.
So I was really excited to get this, and the reason why is because I do a lot of wiring on my house, and I live in fear that I'm going to leave too much copper exposed, and it's going to arc, and something's going to explode.
Wait a minute, what are you? You're doing wiring?
Yeah, for all the light switches and things like that.
Oh, I guess you are, aren't you?
Of course.
I mean, it's not fancy wiring.
No, but that's, of course, you know. I think about, we have all of this solar, we have batteries. The wiring was a little janky because our house was a grow house before we bought it. So I think this would be I'm going to buy, even at $349, that includes the monitoring. I'm going to buy it. That's a great thing.
Do you ever get strange visitors?
This is,
yes. Hey man, Dave here, man. Dave's not here, man. No, man, Dave. I'm Dave. Dave's not here, man. No, man, I'm Dave. All the time. I got these stuff, man. Dave's not here, man. All the time. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. So I was really excited because it's like 2 minutes to set up. You download the app, you plug this thing in, you connect the two things together, and boom. And it has already worked. Like if power, I was turning off a circuit in another part of my house, and it was like, hey, by the way, your power was mildly disrupted.
Oh, that's good.
So it notices that. Yeah. And you have to plug it directly into an outlet. That's the only thing. You can't stick it into
That's fine. I can find an outlet. But there's no particular outlet, just any outlet, right?
Any outlet in your home.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer because it only cost $49.99 at the time.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. And then the app would do the monitoring and just let you know that there was an issue. But now they want you to buy a year. For $349, you get a year of Ting monitoring, the sensor service activation, and $1,000 credit for hazard repair. Sounds like they've changed.
Pivot.
Yeah, they've changed their business model. Yeah.
Poor Stacy.
Yeah. Well, they launched this in 2018, so it's possible that I just came in at the tail end of that, which lucky me, but bummer for y'all. That changes things a little. Because I've had this now for almost a month, and I'm really like, I mean, I don't actually notice it unless something
we said
happens
it's always
with my power.
about timing.
This is a great idea. So somehow it's monitoring the circuit and notices if there's a change in voltage or...
Yeah, it's change in voltage throughout your home, basically.
Yeah. This is good.
So that is my thing, and I'm sorry that...
My thing is Ting.
I did not check it beforehand.
Tingfire.com.
Ting ka-ching.
Apparently there is a coupon here. Safe 2021. Safe-2021. What does that bring the price down to? Same. Okay. Wait a minute.
You just get priority customer service.
You know, let's see. Let's just see if I apply the coupon. What am I going to do? Jalapeño. And it cuts the price by $50. So there you go. $2.99.
All right.
That's good. Jeff Jarvis, do you have that was my number. Do you have a number?
I do indeed. And a funny thing happened. So I saw this story in the FT a couple days ago. I printed it out because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to it since I don't subscribe to the FT. And by a guy named Will Page. And then I saw as we were coming on the show today, he tried to friend me on LinkedIn and said, I enjoyed what you said on the BBC about Australia and all that. So I friended him back because it's a great story. He has a book coming out called Tarzan Economics. And he's the former Spotify chief economist. So in this is a treasure trove of amazing numbers about change. I'm going to go through it quickly. In 1984, 6,000 music albums were released in the UK total. Today, streaming services make available a similar volume, 55,000 new songs, every day.
Whoa.
Since Spotify launched in 2009, the number of British songwriters has increased 115% to 140,000. UK recording artists, 145% to 115,000. 20 years ago, there were 5 major UK labels and at most 24 independent distributors. Today, Spotify hosts music from 751 suppliers. There were 12.5 genres. Now, Spotify's Every Noise Acoustic Maps tracks 5,224 genres, including Coptic hymns, Russian Romanticism, and, of course, the new lockdown hint, shanties. Now, this is not all. Books. I'm sorry. So a flood of new books, more than 3.5 million titles. Only a fifth of them were new. But here's the one that's going to depress you, my friend, my boss.
I'm looking at that paragraph right now.
885,000 new episodes of podcasts, almost 2 podcasts every minute.
Whoa.
The good news is half of those don't make it past week 1.
No.
I'm serious.
Exactly.
If you can get 20
like,
episodes
after 3 weeks,
in,
they're like,
oh, this is significant pod fade in that number. Actually, the number I was looking at, there have been 7 acquisitions of podcasting companies for more than $100 million each in the past 2 years, but that has not translated into newfound wealth for many creators. Thank you very much.
In streaming, most artists receive 20 to 25% of royalty. Because earnings go back first to pay in advance, that means an artist who receives an advance of £100,000 must sell £500,000 worth of music before receiving any more cash. Patreon. So what it's saying is a lot of people can just go independent and say screw it.
Yeah, because you have to end up giving 75% of your royalties to the record company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as lockdown took hold, major labels released 1.2 million songs in 2020. DIY artists released a staggering 9.5 million. That's an 8-to-1 ratio of artists doing it themselves to labels. And finally, Patreon took 7 years from inception to the distribution of $2 billion to creators. The global music industry took 12 years to do the same for streaming revenue. I thought this was just a really good story. So plug to Will Page, author of the upcoming book, Tarzan Economics, due out in April.
8 principles for pivoting through disruption. is the point of that book.
It was a great bunch of numbers.
Yeah. Mr. Ent Pruitt, your pick of the week.
My pick of the week, I meant to mention one of them last week. I got two. But the first one is the Giz Fizz from this weekend at about the 33-minute mark. It was the funniest thing to watch the interaction between our very own Jammer B and Mr. Dick DiBartello because...
okay, you said you have an ad
listen.
there? Because I didn't know this answer either.
Because you know Jammer B is wearing a mask.
Call 911? No. I'm dying? No.
Wasn't it 33 minutes?
Hot damn? No.
Right there.
Shoe.
He's wearing that newfangled mask that nobody... And then what happened? Colonel Sanders.
And Dick DiBartello keeps going back to him like, what did you say?
Why am I seeing a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad on this?
That was part of the game.
Oh, okay.
But it was so funny to listen to Jammer B and Dickie D just
Dick
trying
has
to
got some
interact
sort of
with one
side
another.
deal with KFC now? He's putting ads in the...
Finger licking, finger licking, finger
Why?
licking.
Oh, that was part of a game. It was a mean game.
Finger licking, 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 finger licking.
That's your punishment?
I watched that Saturday and I could not stop laughing. Oh man. But I thought that was
I don't know what we're watching there. I go home on Saturday afternoon, thank God. I don't know what the hell's happening in this studio.
Right. And my other pick is another one that I wanted to mention. This one I wanted to mention last week and forgot. But I want to give kudos to Adobe. They partnered up with Tierra Whack with a promo that says W is for whack. And what it is coloring for people, because I think right now people should just take the time to try to find whatever simple pleasure you can get your hands on and just embrace it and enjoy it. Just to take time to get away from the reality of all of this continued pandemic stuff and COVID and just dive into it. And one of the simplest things out there is just coloring books. And Adobe offers a bunch of coloring books that you can put
as a PDF.
Into Photoshop. You can put it in Illustrator, or you can just download them the old school way as paper and print them out and just get your color on.
Do you get it to sit down at the kitchen table with your boys and color?
I don't do that, but Queen Pruitt colors all the time.
It's very soothing, I think. Yeah.
Yep. All the time.
My daughter does it.
And when I saw it, I was like, man, good on you, Adobe. That's good stuff. And it doesn't cost you anything.
This is pretty cute.
I think I'm going to have nightmares from these images tonight, Ann. I don't know.
Yeah, these images are a little freaky. I'm not going to lie.
This is the letter W.
Yeah,
W is for wrestlers in a wheelbarrow. W
It's not
is
cute,
for
like Edgar Gorey kind of disturbing.
worried
disturbing.
walrus.
Freaky,
Yeah. Weird wasps. Wild
Have some
Wanda.
color some of the weird
I like her style, actually. Tierra Whack. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Tierra Whack? That's great.
I think she's featured at the top of that page.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
W is for whack.
All right, so
coloring.
I set up a thing in the security thing, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Are the police coming?
It said at 7:38. We're still on the air.
Yeah.
I should be walking now.
Yeah.
And so it said, should we check on you to make sure you're walking? And I had to stop. No, don't call the 911. I'm just sitting here on a podcast. It's okay. I'm all right. I got to turn this off because I guess every night it's going to say, "Are you walking?"
It's going to get a little
I think
overzealous.
that's a sign that says we need to end the show so Jeff can go get his walk on.
Go walk.
You were
When the
explaining
police break down the door, we'll be like, oh.
I will leave you then with a short story. How about that? This is from qntm.org. It is a fake entry in a Wikipedia in the future about the first person, Miguel Acevedo, whose brain was downloaded as an executable image. He was a graduate student at the University of New Mexico. His brain was downloaded in 2031, and It's kind of like the Henrietta Lack story, right? What happened to his brain image? It became the most popular brain image in use because he was very jovial when activated. It's actually really interesting. Highly recommend it. It's called Lena at Things of Interest, QNTM.org. And it's fiction. I read it at first. I was a little puzzled because I didn't know it was fiction. When did this happen? What happened?
Must be well written.
It's very believable, and they can't. So they download his brain and they can execute it in a computer, and he becomes an artificial intelligence. And they learned they couldn't tell him that the original owner of the brain was dead. That would upset it. So they said he was retired quietly. And he was doing kitchen work, and it's fascinating. Fascinating. My pick of the week, a little short story about uploading your brain for science. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this edition, thrilling, gripping as it was, of the Jalapeño News. We thank you, Stacey Higginbotham. She is the host at StaceyOnIoT.com. Don't forget to subscribe to her newsletter and keep an eye peeled for events she does. Are you have any coming up anytime soon? Or?
Every time you say this, I'm like, bless your heart for thinking of me. And also, please don't make me feel any guiltier about not holding any more events.
No, you don't have to have events. But now that you have gigabit fiber, this would be a good time, right? You kind of set up.
See if the gigabit has arrived.
Yeah. You only got 100 bit.
Now he's going to redo your heating, but we'll get that next week.
Yeah, upgrade the 100 bit.
Yeah, it got below 65, just so you know, so it kicked back on.
Turn on the heat. It's okay. It's okay. Her IoT podcast is also there with Kevin Toffel, and it's definitely a must read.
Hat is thread. That should say what is thread.
Well, I think cat is thread is interesting. Let me see if it could be because of the way I've
it's where it's cropped. Oh. No, it's Oh, I did a good story, y'all, on Amazon. I should have told y'all that should have been my pick of the week, is how to make Madam A stop yelling at you after you talk to her, because it's been so spammy lately.
It's so spammy. I will definitely. By the way, did you know that I can also figure out how many potatoes are in a bushel? Just ask. It's like, no.
I didn't ask.
Didn't ask. I just wanted you to turn off the lights.
You can't stop it all the way, but you can stop it by going into your settings, going under, here's the kicker, notifications.
Don't tell them, make them read it.
Oh, it's not in that story.
Oh.
I was just, that was a business-oriented story, not a service-oriented story. I'm terrible at that. Okay, y'all go.
No, now you have to tell us if it's not in the article.
Oh, go to notification. So settings, notifications. It's under shopping, y'all.
Shopping.
Everything
they really
in that
hid that.
setting.
That's terrible.
You should just make it all go away, because
no shopping.
It asks you things like, do you want Madam A to remind you to rate a product? No, you never
I hate
want
that.
her to say,
She only does it Saturday mornings. Every Saturday morning, she says, 3 years ago, you bought a wooden spoon set. How did you like it?
So you can turn that off there. And at the bottom of the shopping settings, you'll also be able to go to the device settings and all the automatic reminders that your devices may give you.
Oh, you just saved my life. Under Amazon shopping. Say or show titles.
She's still going to.
Okay.
Yeah, she's still going to tell you things like, by the way, did you know I can do the following?
Yeah.
But you'll at least get rid of a few of them. There's no off for those.
It's about your Amazon orders. Receive personalized recommendations and deals. Receive notifications for customer Q&A and review ratings. No. I always just say 5 stars. It's fine. Those spoons are great.
I don't rate anything.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry. I
want to help out my fellow shoppers. And I do like the notifications that something was delivered. I see the yellow ring.
Okay, well, yeah, read them before you turn them off.
Yeah.
I hate that because my husband gets so many things delivered.
Oh, it's always, if the yellow ring's always going off, no good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, we now know that Stacey yells at her Amazon Echo. Profanities.
I yell very not nice. Is that a profanity?
Sort of.
I mean, I wouldn't say it on this show. It's not nice.
It's not a profanity. No.
It's great to have you, Stacy. Thank you so much. Jeff Jarvis is also a welcome sight for sore eyes every Wednesday afternoon, the director of the Town Night Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. BuzzMachine.com. At Jeff Jarvis. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. You're working on that book, right? Anything?
I have actually typed the last word in the draft.
Wow, that's a good feeling.
Now we got to sell.
Did you have a celebratory cacio e pepe?
All right.
No.
God, no.
Oh.
Are you cut off on those?
Sell the damn thing. When I sell it, I'll celebrate.
All right.
I stupidly chose to spend 8 years writing this before selling it, so I wouldn't be rushed. So I wasn't.
And Mr. Anthony Pruitt at twit.tv/handsonphotography/HOP. Thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, go subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my latest video over there. Did something a little different this time.
Nice.
It's not a tutorial.
Very cool. Friends, we've come to the end of this edition of This Week in Google. Thank you so much for being here. We do the show Wednesday afternoons right after Windows Weekly. That's about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. So you must tune in if you want to watch it live.
600 times we've
600 times we've done this.
600 times.
Yikes. We should do something to celebrate. You're right. I don't do the odometer thing, I guess.
You celebrate by hitting publish.
That's a celebration. You bet. Now I'm going to open a light beer and have a couple
Celebrate with jalapeno
pickled
margaritas.
Jalapeños. You bet.
Yes.
I think on Monday was Margarita Day, National Margarita Day. We might,
All right. So
I go to, do you know about
given a reason.
Forecast? Because I use Forecast with a K to find out what day. Like today is National Tortilla Chip Day.
I'm hungry.
Tomorrow's National Chili Day.
I'm going to play Stacy.
February 26th is World Pistachio Day.
Jeff, if you were playing me, you would be far more charming when you said you were hungry.
How about this? This Sunday is National...
No. You get grumpy. You do get grumpy.
National...
I am so angry.
Wait a minute.
National Chocolate Souffle Day.
Now he's going to keep going for friggin' ever.
And good news, March 4th is World Obesity Day. Ladies and gentlemen, you can watch us live at twit.tv/live, audio and video there. If you're watching live, chat live, irc.twit.tv. We also have on-demand versions of the show at twit.tv/twig. We have a YouTube channel. Best thing to do would be subscribe in your favorite podcast application. That way you'll get it the minute it's available of a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for subscribing to a show here on the Twit Network. We do appreciate it. Hey, if you want to make sure you are up to date with some of the most important tech news in a given week, you've got to check out my show, Tech News Weekly. My co-host Jason Howell and I talk to the people making and breaking the tech news in a given week, and it's your nice taste of what's going on during the week before our big show on Sundays.